Brookland News Live begins right now. Here's Mitchell.
Hi, everybody. Welcome into Brookland News Live. Here are a lot of headlines to get to. Want to take you to just some of the news that we are following at this hour. I'm Jackson Mitchell, joining you here from Brookland, Arkansas. Here's a look at the headlines that we're following right now. That is live look there in Providence, Rhode Island. You're taking a look live there again. An obvious search for evidence in the Brown University shooting, as again, that person of interest that was in custody last night has been released as the search continues for the suspect. 2 are dead, 9 are injured. I want to take you to some other news because Rob Reiner is dead. His wife, Michelle, also dead. That's a look there at a memorial growing at the Hollywood Walk of Fame there in Los Angeles, California. A live look at the White House as we stand by for President Trump's remark and medal giving kind of ceremony for people who have made an impact on the southern border. So we're going to be waiting to hear from the president. It was expected to start here at the top of the hour. We will await for that to begin. We're monitoring a press conference going on as well in Chicago on the budget there. It appears we are having some feed troubles. So when we get that back, we'll go to it, of course, for all of you. I am going to start, though, in Providence, Rhode Island, where you are taking a look there at the search there. It looks like the camera might have been interrupted for just a second, but the obvious search for some type of evidence in this case. We have video from a press conference that occurred earlier, I should say yesterday. Let's listen in.
Pat? Everyone good? Okay. Good evening. I'm Providence Mayor Brett Smiley. In just a moment, we'll hear from Rhode Island's Governor Dan McKee. Then we'll ask for comments and an update from Attorney General Peter Nerona, followed by Colonel Oscar Perez, Chief of the Providence Police Department. Shortly, we will be releasing the person of interest who had been detained earlier today, and the Attorney General can speak a little bit about the rationale for that. But we want to inform the community that that individual will shortly be released from Providence Police. We know that this is likely to cause fresh anxiety for our community, and we want to reiterate what we said earlier, which remains true, which is ever since the initial call, now a day and a half ago, we have not received any credible or specific threats to the Providence community. And so the status of safety in our community remains unchanged. And we believe that you remain safe in our community, though we will continue to have an enhanced police presence throughout the city and on the Brown campus. We are once again encouraging thinks that they might have relevant information to assist with our ongoing investigation to please provide it. These are the same resources that were asked earlier, but to share them once again. You can upload video or photos to the special FBI website created for this incident, which is fbi.gov/Brown University shooting. That's fbi.gov/Brown University shooting, or call the Providence Police non-emergency number of 401-272-3121. Our investigation into this horrific act remains ongoing. It has been ongoing. And I know there's been some frustration from members of the community and others about the language that we've been using about the person of interest and such, and that speaks to directly the fact that this investigation was and continues ongoing, and we will continue to endeavor to not confirm any information that is not yet confirmable. And that is how we can best be transparent with all the members of our community to share the best information that we have. I'd like to invite the Governor to say a few words, and then we'll hear from the Attorney General specifically with regard to the individual.
So our position stays the same. The safety of the people in the state is a top priority. The response, an all-in response from the state relative to any of the issues that impact the Brown University or the people who are impacted by this act of violence. And I will continue to tell you that our Colonel Weaver will be here shortly, and we will continue to have a full amount of effort from the state side and the state police. In addition to that, I just got off the phone with the mayor, with Director Kash Patel, with the FBI, and he also, because I wanted to make sure that he was fully aware of this press event, and he was, and he also committed to continue to bring the resources of the federal government into this case. So right now, it's about the safety of the people that live in the state, that is in the Providence area. The state of Rhode Island will continue to provide all our resources to support the city, the mayor, as well as Brown University and the community at large in the area of Brown University. In addition to that, making sure that we keeping the people safe in the state of Rhode Island. Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor, Governor. I want to share with the people of the state of Rhode Island what this investigation looks like, where we are today, where I anticipate it moving forward. So last night, I wish you could have been with me in the command post where there were literally dozens of Providence police officers working to develop leads in this very difficult case. Difficult, obviously, because of the tragedy that occurred on the campus, but also difficult in terms of developing evidence. That work continues, and it will continue tomorrow. Our prosecutors were there, 6 in total. Our victim services folks were at the hospital. But this is what these investigations look like. I've been around long enough to know that sometimes you head in one direction and then you have to regroup and go in another. And that's exactly what has happened over the last 24 hours or so. Collectively, the team developed leads in a number of areas. One was chased to ground. It led to us detaining a person of interest. And so those words and how we choose those words when we're talking about an investigation matter. And what it means here is that certainly there was some degree of evidence that pointed to this individual, but that evidence needed to be corroborated and confirmed. And over the last 24 hours, leading into just very, very recently, that evidence now points in a different direction. So what that means is that this person of interest needs to be and should be released. I think what is really unfortunate that this person's name was leaked to the public. It's hard to put that back in the bottle, okay? So we're going to proceed very carefully here. There is too much at stake for the victims of this horrific crime and their families to take chances with respect to this investigation. What I anticipate seeing going forward is that our team of prosecutors will be working with the Providence Police Department as the principal leads in this investigation. We will have our resources amplified by the state police, by the FBI, by the ATF, by the DEA, by the Marshal Service, and others as we develop leads and reach and move towards justice in this case. But this could happen very quickly, but it could take some time. And so I'm going to ask the public to be patient with us as we continue to work through the facts in this case. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend Oscar Perez. I've known a long time, worked a lot of cases with Chief Perez. He's terrific. He's leading a great team here. Again, I wish you could have seen the work the other night. We have not yet solved this case, but I'm confident we're going to do that. And I'm confident we're going to do that in the very near future. So, Chief Perez?
Thank you, General. Yeah, and good evening. We're here again today, obviously, to I'm going to reiterate what the General just stated, as well as the Mayor. This person of interest will be released. And I want to make sure that we all understand that this was a very complex investigation, and it still is. So in the sense, we followed on a lead, and we followed on this specific lead, but we're able to examine every single evidence that led us to this individual. And at that point, that's how investigations work. Investigations will tell us whether something is valid or not, whether something needs to be ruled out. It's not a mistake. It's just how investigations work. And our responsibility is to make sure that we conduct the proper investigations. When I saw you all earlier today, I'm very proud of the detective work that they do. Detectives that work throughout the night, as the General stated, were here last night, making sure that we lift every rock, that we investigate everything we needed to investigate, because we're not in the business of putting people in jail that don't deserve to be. And so at this point, we'll continue to follow on every lead that comes our way. Our federal partners are on board. We'll be meeting again tomorrow with them and continue to do the work that we need to do to bring this person who's responsible to justice. And I'm proud to say that in the morning we'll be reuniting with the detectives. Just some of the detectives worked all night. They're still working as we speak. And we'll continue our investigations. So,
Questions?
Do you believe that the person who was in the video that you released last night is still a suspect, or is that the person that you detained and is now being released?
the person that we detained,
Person from the video that you released last night, is that the person you detained this morning?
at this point, we don't have enough evidence to corroborate that, so no.
Do you still think that that person from the video, surveillance video, is the suspect that you're looking for?
Yes, Stephanie, what we saw in the video is the person we're looking for, correct.
I would describe that person as a person of interest. So there are a lot of unknowns in this case, and that's one unknown yet, Steph. That's what we're working towards.
So is it safe to say that you all believe at this point is the suspect behind the shooting, are they still in this community? I know you said there's not danger to this community, but is that person, do you believe they're still here? Have they left the state?
Honestly, we have no way of knowing. And the investigation is ongoing. We continue to follow leads that have been developed over the last day and a half, and we're continuing to ask for help. One of the things that Providence Police will be doing, and we should let our neighbors know, is that we are searching for additional video evidence. And so neighbors in the area of Brown University should expect to see Providence Police in the neighborhood canvassing, looking for additional evidence, specifically looking for additional video evidence. And we are looking for additional video evidence. There's been several questions over the last day and a half about videos at Brown and in the building. The videos at Brown in the building have been examined, and at this time we have no additional actionable information from the video that has been reviewed from the building. And so we are looking for new and additional video evidence, and neighbors in the community should expect to see Providence Police along with our partners, and we're again very grateful for the resources we've received from the state police because of the governor's support and our federal partners, but that is one piece of additional evidence and a way in which this community can help. If you have a camera and you are nearby, the video that was released was the corner of Hope and Waterman Streets. And if you are in that area and you have video, you have home video, Ring camera, security camera, you're a small business owner, please reach out to us. Call that number, 401-272-3121, or if you can upload the video itself, you can do so at fbi.gov/Brown University shooting.
So the FBI director specifically said in his tweet that it was a tip from Providence Police that led you all to Hampton Inn. Can Can you confirm if that's true, and what exactly was the evidence that led you to this person of interest?
Yeah, so it was there was a tip that came in, just like we would take in any other tips, and that one came in specifically identifying a person of interest, which was this individual. And we, our detectives got on it, just like they got on others, but this specific one, it was actually picked up by the FBI, and they followed through with it, and they ended up coming and locating this individual of interest, and at that point, we did our thorough investigation, examined, ended up drafting some search warrants, came up with some evidence, but that evidence was examined, and we didn't have enough, obviously, to be able to prosecute anybody, and so the person was released. Go ahead, Tom.
Actually, a question for the Attorney General. What is the standard in the state of Rhode Island for detaining someone before they are charged? How long are you allowed to do that? And I guess ultimately, if this individual who was detained is not found to have been part of this, will the Attorney General's office or the state of Rhode Island exonerate him in writing?
Well, Pat, what the case law tells us is that we can detain someone for a reasonable period of time if there is evidence such that points to that person being involved in criminal activity. And so, evidence doesn't appear on your doorstep and you have answers to it within the first 15 minutes. So let me just paint what I hope will be a clear picture. There's obviously evidence at the scene. That evidence at the scene may link to a particular individual. So when you have a person of interest, you try to link the evidence at the scene to that person of interest. Well, that takes time. That requires testing. Some of that lab testing can take an entire day. So over the course of the day, while we're following up leads elsewhere, those initial leads may positive or may come back negative. Here they came back negative, so we're in a position where we are now going to release that person of interest. But that's the way these investigations work. This isn't. Well, look, Pat. I'm not going to get into exonerating people in writing or orally or otherwise. There was a quantum of evidence. There was a quantum of evidence which justified detaining this person as a person of interest. We continue to do our job. We're going to keep doing that. There may be other persons of interest. Hopefully they will be in custody or detention very soon.
Weapons. There were multiple reports describing weapons that were found at the scene. Can you say whether or not there were weapons recovered at the scene, and does that describe the evidence that you described that may have linked to the person?
Listen, I am not going to, and I'm not going to. Can't imagine the chief would either. Is to lay out directly what evidence is at the scene. But what I'm telling you is, at any crime scene, there is evidence that links the perpetrator to the crime. When you have a person of interest, you try to link him to that particular evidence or her to that evidence. It could be all kinds of evidence, Steph. It could be fingerprint evidence. It could be ballistic evidence. It could be DNA. It could be a whole host of things.
Can you explain exactly what eliminated him?
I'm not going to get into that.
I know
It's safe to say that
the FBI is here tonight. Can you tell us more about the role? I know it's been emphasized that Providence Police will be the head here.
Yeah.
Kind of the role of what that looks like.
Well, look, in a situation like this, and I go back to the double homicide of Amy Shute and Jason Burgess 25 years ago. It's all hands on deck to try to canvass locations, look at electronic evidence, identify witnesses, track those witnesses down. So every agency brings something else to the table. State police certainly bring something to the table. But ultimately, this is Providence's case. And they are the lead here, and they have the most boots on the ground to do most of the work that needs to get done.
I know that this person was detained for hours on end today. Can you talk about what happened during those hours-long detention? Were they questioned that entire time? What did that look like when this person of interest was detained?
Yeah.
Alrighty, we are going to interrupt here because you may have seen it at the bottom part of your screen there. President Trump is remarking over at the White House is expected to be on the southern border, and some medals are also expected to be given. Let's go live now to the White House.
We had a long discussion, and things are seemingly going well, but we've been saying that for a long time, and it's a difficult one. We had, as you know, settled 8 wars, and one was having a little problem yesterday, Thailand and Cambodia. We were able to straighten that out. There was some killing going on that shouldn't have happened. We appreciate them working to get it straightened out, and they have. The security protocols yesterday were amazing, and they have been amazing, having to do with Russia or in Ukraine. And I had a long talk with President Zelensky. Also, I spoke with the heads of Germany, Italy, NATO, Finland, France, United Kingdom, Poland, Norway, Denmark, and the Netherlands. We had very long and very good talks. And again, I think things are going along pretty well. 27,000 soldiers were killed last month. Shouldn't happen. Should have never happened. Should have never started. That war should have never ever started. But it did, and we're trying to get it solved. That was Biden's situation. We're trying to get it done. And I think we're closer now, and they will tell you that they're closer now. We had numerous conversations with President Putin of Russia. And I think we're closer now than we have been ever. And we'll see what we can do. We want to save a lot of lives. We sell equipment to NATO. We don't spend any money, but we do want to see if we can save a lot of lives. When you're losing 25,000 to 30,000 soldiers, mostly soldiers, other people too, from towns, and like places like Kiev, various other places throughout Ukraine. It's pretty bad. Nobody's seen anything like it, actually, since World War II. But we're getting closer. We're having tremendous support from European leaders. They want to get it ended also. And at this moment, Russia wants to get it. And the problem is they'll want to get it ended, and then all of a sudden they won't. And Ukraine will want to get it ended, and all of a sudden they won't. So we have to get them on the same page. But I think that's working along. Very good talk. On day one of my administration, I signed an executive order making it core mission of the United States military to protect and defend their homeland. And today, we're here to honor our military men and women for their central role in the protection of our border, something that I campaigned very, very strongly on. And they made me look really good. They were unbelievable. They made us all look good. I mean, we went from having millions of people pouring over our border to having none in the last 8 months, none. In a few moments, we'll officially recognize their service by awarding them the Mexican Border Defense Medal, which is a big deal. We're joined for this occasion by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dan Kane, Commander of U.S. Northern Command, General Gregory Gio, Commander of the Southern Border Task Force, Major General Scott Noman, Command Sergeant Major Brett Johnson of the U.S. Army's 10th Mountain Division, Administrator of the Drug Enforcement Agency, Terry Cole, and many other members of our administration who have done an incredible job on the border. You know, people forget now that the border has been secure for actually 7 months, think of it, more. And they don't mention the border anymore. Nobody talks about the border. They talk about affordability, and we're the ones that are bringing the prices down. We were given the worst inflation in our country's history, and we're bringing the prices down. But the affordability is on the Democrats because they have made it unaffordable to be in this country, but we're bringing those prices down, and they're coming down quickly. Energy is coming way down, and if you look, gasoline prices are hitting in many locations $1.99 a gallon. Nobody thought they'd see that. There were $4, $5, and $6 a gallon under Biden. In the 4 years before I took office, our southern border was surrendered to criminals, drug cartels, human traffickers, and child smugglers. Our entire southwest border on the Mexican side is under the physical control of cartels that are among the most violent entities nobody's ever seen anywhere on the planet, the most violent people on the planet. Remember when the Democrats and others, the radical left, used to say that the people they're allowing into our country, immigrants, are nice people. They're not violent like our people. Well, they make our people look like babies. These are some of the most violent criminals anywhere on earth. From many countries, not just Venezuela. Venezuela emptied their jails into our country. but others have also. The Congo has. So many other countries have. And we don't put up with it. I have to say the drugs coming in by sea are down 94%. And we're trying to figure out who the other 6% are. But they're down 94%, and we're going to start hitting them on land, which is a lot easier to do, frankly. But these are a direct military threat to the United States of America. They're trying to drug out our country. And you can look throughout history. Look at China when they were loaded up with drugs. They were suffering greatly, and others were able to take them over. And other countries also. They're trying to drug out our country, and we're reversing it rapidly, actually. But with the help of our great service members, we've stopped the invasion in its tracks, and we're dismantling the cartels very rapidly. And they are being declared enemies of the United States of America. They have been so declared, legally declared. More than 25,000 warriors have served in this historic operation. It is indeed an incredible and historic operation. And we've never done anything so effectively, and we've had a lot of victories. They've spent night and day enduring scorching hot and bitter cold, and they've given up their holidays and their weekends working with the officers of Customs and Border Protection. Our armed forces have already conducted nearly 13,000 patrols along the border, and today we give these great warriors the recognition that they have earned, and they have really earned it. The military component of our border security efforts is just the beginning. We're also designating the drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, a big deal from a legal standpoint and military standpoint. We've ended catch and release, and we endured and ensured that anyone who sets foot across our border illegally is intercepted, arrested, and immediately deported, or if they're really bad, they're put into prison because we don't want to ever take a chance to come back. As a result, illegal border crossings have plummeted to the lowest level ever recorded in the history of our country. Think of that. The history of our country. You can all be very proud. For the past 7 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States of America. We inherited the worst border in the history of our country, one of the worst borders, I would say, in the world. I can't imagine any border in the world being worse when they allowed 25 million people to come in. And again, many of these people are gang members and from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums. And some of the worst people on earth they allowed to come into our country. We're getting a lot of them out. We've made a big dent. And the self-deportation is something nobody talks about, but literally millions of people are self-deporting because they don't want to be captured. Once they're captured, they don't have the chance to self-deport. And they never have the chance to come back into our country. We inherited that border from an incompetent administration and turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country. So we took the worst border in the history of our country, and in a period of 2 months, we turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country. During this time, we've also achieved a 50% drop in the amount of fentanyl coming across the border, and China is working with us very closely on bringing down the number and the amount of fentanyl that's being shipped. You know, fentanyl is very bad when you mix it with certain ingredients, but it also is very important for medicine, for anesthesias, various other things. I want people to understand that. It's not made necessarily for bad. When it's mixed with certain things, it becomes bad. And that's what's taking place in Mexico. And we've got it down to a much lower number, not satisfactory, but it will be satisfactory soon. In May, we executed the largest fentanyl bust in the history of the U.S., seizing 3 million fentanyl pills all at one time. Think of that, 3 million pills. It's amounted to billions of dollars worth of drugs. And last month, we seized another 1.7 million fentanyl pills in the state of Colorado, the poorly run state of Colorado, with a governor who's incompetent. And frankly, with a governor that won't allow our wonderful Tina to come out of a jail, in a high-intensity jail, because she caught people cheating on an election, and they said she was cheating. She wasn't cheating. She went over, she looked at one of the election scams going on, and because she did that, they put her in jail for 9 years. The governor of Colorado is a weak and pathetic man who was run by Tren de Aragua, the criminals from Venezuela, took over sections of Colorado, and he was afraid to do anything. But he puts Tina in jail for 9 years because she caught people cheating. And when she walked over and got involved in it, they said she was cheating. She wasn't cheating. She caught people cheating on the election, 2020, along with a lot of other people that cheated on that election. You'll see that coming out more and more. But there's no doubt that America's adversaries are trafficking fentanyl into the United States, in part because they want to kill Americans. If this were a war, that would be one of the worst wars. I believe they killed, over the last 5 or 6 years, per year, 200 to 300,000 people. You hear about 100,000, which is a lot of people, but the number is much higher than that. That's been proven. And they've destroyed a lot of families. Because when they lose a child, or even if their child is heavily addicted, you lose that family. The family will never be the same. That's why today I'm taking one more step to protect Americans from the scourge of deadly fentanyl flooding into our country. With this historic executive order I will sign today, we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, which is what it is. No bomb does what this is doing. 200 to 300,000 people die every year that we know of. So we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. But before I sign the fentanyl order, we will pin these great service members with their medals. And here today are the first 13 warriors who will receive the Mexican Border Defense Medal, which is a big deal. First, I'd like to ask Secretary Hegseth and Chairman Kane to say a few words. I'd like to have Tom Homan come up, please, if you would, say a few words. And I want to thank all of the people, Pam and everybody, Stephen Miller, great Stephen Miller, what a job he's doing, for being here. Thank you both, appreciate it very much. We have so many great people here. But I do want to ask Tom to say a few words also. So Pete, why don't you start it off, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. President, thank you. I would echo what you said. This has been a team effort from the beginning. Tom Homan, Terry Cole, Stephen Miller, Pam Bondi, Christy Noem, Customs and Border Patrol, Protection. It has been one team, one mission to get 100% operational control of the southern border. If you want to talk about America First, peace through strength and common sense, it all manifests in one basic phrase down there. Border security is national security. And we had the task of 100% control, and because of these men and women back here, we've achieved that. Nobody is crossing the southern border. And I want to give a big shout out to our Northern Command, General Guillot. From day one, they said, our department didn't look at the border this way before you. Joe Biden allowed an invasion of this country. Tens of millions of people, drugs, gangs, violence, and the military jumped to it on day one with our partners. But ultimately, it was incredible Americans. There's 13 up here with us today. They all represent about 2,000 people who've served at the border so far. So 25,000 Americans qualify for this Mexican National Defense Border Medal that we're announcing today. And what's cool about this medal, it was actually first given out in 1918. So we're reviving an old medal that existed, was given to men and women who defended the southern border. We found out about it. We used the exact same foundry with the exact same imagery, same color, same medal, same everything. So our men and women will be wearing that very same medal as Americans 100 years before who were asked to defend the sovereignty of our country. President Trump was elected to do that. You have done that, Mr. President. We're proud of this mission. We're proud to defend the American people. And pinning these medals on is an example of how important it is to us. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary, I want to echo your thanks and gratitude for the Joint Force. I also want to highlight General Guillot, General Nauman, and Command Sergeant Major Johnson, but also leaders at every level that came together, not just in our Joint Force, but in the interagency. And I want to specifically highlight our Border Patrol teammates and our Office of Air and Marine teammates who, when I went down to the southern border and visited, were right there next to the Joint Force. I also want to thank not just these 13 individuals, but the Joint Force that was also down there and your families who poured in to make this deployment possible on the southern border. And of course, this time of the year, I'm always thinking about our currently deployed forces who are out there around the world doing our nation's business, and of course our fallen and their families who show us what courage and tenacity really are as they move forward after the loss of a service member. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Tom, please.
You know, it's always an honor for me to be in the Oval Office with the greatest president of my lifetime. Yes, I said it, and I meant it. You know, I just got home last night. I toured the border in California, Arizona, and Texas. I did it in four-wheel drive. I did it on the river. I did it from the air. Hundreds upon hundreds of miles of border. I didn't see one illegal alien. Not a single one. I've done this since 1984. I worked for 6 different presidents. No one's done more than President Trump. What he has done is give us the most secure border in the history of this nation. Hard stop. I went hundreds of miles of border, didn't see one illegal alien. Incredible, considering the Biden administration, we had 10, 12,000 a day, most released in the United States. I'm proud to be with these patriots behind me. I'm already proud to be in the Oval Office of President, but being with these heroes, I met some of these soldiers down on the border. And actually, shout out to Fort Drum, New York. We got some 10th Mountain Division here, so at least Stefanik, Claudia, Tennant, we all love Fort Drum and the 10th Mountain. So look, this is a game changer. I want to make something perfectly clear. Because we get attacked all the time being inhumane. The Biden administration is much more humane. It's a bunch of crap. Because there's been studies done that 31% of women that make that journey through the cartels get sexually assaulted. They get raped. And not just the women, children too. I've done numerous investigations in that. Sex trafficking was at historic highs with the open border. Fentanyl, historic highs that killed 250,000 Americans. No inspector terrorists that came across the border. Record, historic. What happened under the Biden administration was the most inhumane thing I've seen in my lifetime. Now that the border is 96% decline, 96% less people are coming, how many women aren't being raped? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked into this country every day? How many known suspected terrorists aren't just walking across that border? President Trump and this administration is saving thousands of lives every month. Hard stop. That's just a stone cold fact. I'm just proud to be a part of this. I work with Steve Miller every day. Steve Miller is one of the most brilliant people I've met in my entire life. President Trump brought together one hell of a team here, and the success proved. We all working together, one team, one fight. We're not done yet. We're going to keep going, and I guarantee you we're going to continue saving thousands and thousands of lives. Secure border means strong national security. Secure border saves lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's do the medals, and I'll be signing this. Maybe you'll do the medals first, and then I'll sign it, okay? Please.
Alrighty, so to kind of give some context on what you're seeing here, these are National Guard leaders, if I don't stand corrected, and they're being given a medal for leading their teams in an effort to defend the southern border in Mexico. Just wanted to bring in some context here as we are watching the medal presentations here, as you see the president now about to sit down and sign this bill making fentanyl a dangerous drug.
pen. None, ever. We don't like auto pens, right? We don't like auto pens. How about gathering around me, and we'll hold this up. Congratulations, it's an amazing job. Come on around, come on around. Let's take a good picture. Fantastic job, you guys, fantastic job. Thank you very much, great job.
Thank you, Mr. President.
What you've done is unprecedented. How about holding that up? You guys hold it. Nice. Hold it up high. You deserve it more than me. So I'm going to give you another medal, though, that may be more beautiful. I'm not sure it means as much, but it's really good. This is gun medal. This is the one the military loves. So we're going to start. Okay. Thank you. Here you go. It's pretty nice. Want to compare it? Let me see. Compare it. Let me see how it looks. I don't know. That looks pretty good. That means something very special. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. President. Look at what you can do, tie it around your neck. Got a nice ribbon. I think you'll like it. It's special. We don't get into many people.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Come on over here. Come here. Look at this guy.
This is the man that made it happen, sir.
That's 4 sides up big. That means a lot. Hey, General, come on over here, even though you have one. I gave him one. No, this is General right here, General Raisin Cane. He's a great general. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor. This is a fantastic moment. Haven't done this before. And the job they've done on the border is unthinkable. What they left us with, that they would have open borders with millions of people, 25 million people, probably more than that, pouring into our border, totally unchecked and unvetted. Now we have the opposite. And we want people in our country, but they have to come in legally. And they know that, and they know they're not getting through, so now they don't even try. So all of the death that Tom Holman talked about, the rape and the death and all the problem doesn't really happen because the caravans, a name I think I came up with, maybe not, but the caravans are very small. In fact, for the most part, they don't even exist anymore because they know they're not going to get through. In a little while, you'll be seeing, I'm suing the BBC for putting words in my mouth, literally. They put words in my mouth. They had me saying things that I never said coming out. I guess they used AI or something. So we'll be bringing that lawsuit. A lot of people are asking, when are you bringing that lawsuit? Even the media can't believe that one. They actually put terrible words in my mouth having to do with January 6th that I didn't say. And the beautiful words that I said, right? The beautiful words. Talking about patriotism and all of the good things that I said, they didn't say that, but they put terrible words. They actually have me speaking with words that I never said, and they got caught because I believe somebody at BBC said, this is so bad, it has to be reported. That's called fake news. So we'll be filing that suit probably this afternoon or tomorrow morning. I want to thank all of you for being here. If you have any questions, I guess you could ask, but this is really a day of celebration for these people. The job they've done is really unprecedented. So go ahead.
On Brown University, Mr. President, do you know what the motive of the shooter was? Is it was
No,
it
we
a targeted
don't.
attack?
No, it's that's moving along now, and we don't. And we're going to see what happens. Hopefully, they're going to capture this animal. Hopefully, they're going to capture.
Has Kash Patel told you why it's been so difficult for the FBI to identify who the shooter is?
Well, it's always difficult. So far, we've done a very good job of doing it. With Charlie, with the various times this has happened, they've done it in pretty much record time. But you really have to ask the school a little bit more about that, because this was a school problem. They had their own guards, they had their own police, they had their own everything, but you'd have to ask that question really to the school, not to the FBI. We came in after the fact, and the FBI will do a good job, but they came in after the fact.
Do you know if it was targeted, Mr. President?
No, they don't know that yet, no.
Sir, on the issue of drugs, is it accurate that you are considering an executive order to reclassify marijuana under the control?
We are considering that, yeah.
Okay, are you planning?
Because a lot of people want to see it, the reclassification, because it leads to tremendous amounts of research that can't be done unless you reclassify. So we are looking at that very strongly.
Mr. President,
Katie?
is it true that the reports that you reviewed to the Israeli Prime Minister?
Up, please.
Are the reports that you reviewed to the Israeli Prime Minister for the hit on the Hamas general true? And is Israel undermining your efforts to be a peacemaker?
No, Israel and I have gotten along very well. My relationship with Bibi Netanyahu has been obviously a very good one. Look, we took out Iran. We wiped out, with that plane right there, we wiped out the B-2 bomber, we wiped out the Iran nuclear threat, and because of that, we were able to make peace in the Middle East. No, we've had a very good relationship with Israel. We actually have a very good relationship with just about everybody in the Middle East.
But was that a violation of the ceasefire, the strike on the Hamas general?
We're going to have to, we're looking into that.
Mr. President, on the Syria ambush of U.S.
Yeah.
forces, do you still have confidence in the Syrian president?
I do. I mean, this had nothing to do with him. This is a part of Syria that they really don't have much control over. And it was a surprise. He feels very badly about it. He's working on it. He's a strong man. And no, this had nothing to do with the Syrian government. This had to do with ISIS.
What will the U.S. response be?
As a response, they'll be hit hard, yeah.
Javier Negre, Real America's Voice in Español. First of all, thanks for honoring these heroes. The communists have lost Chile. The pro-Trump candidate, José Antonio Caz, won the elections. Do you think this right-wing wave in the Spanish world is due to your influence?
Well, we just had a good one in Honduras, as you know. A great election there. I endorsed somebody that was not leading, and he won the election. And we had a good one just a couple of hours ago. I found out in Chile, the person I endorsed, who was not leading, ended up winning quite easily. So I look forward to paying my respects to him. I hear he's a very good person.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. This year you fired Democrats from a number of federal agencies, and now going into 2026, there are some key regulators like the SEC, the CFTC that are going to have 0 Democrats. Do you plan to appoint Democrats to fill those empty spots, or do you think that federal agencies shouldn't have Democrat commissioners?
Well, do you think they would be appointing Republicans if it were up to them? So, we'll look at it. Look, we want to be fair, but typically they're not appointing Republicans. So you're asking me the question whether or not I'd appoint Democrats. But there are certain areas that we do look at, and there are certain areas that we do share, and share power. And I'm open to that, please.
Mr. President, a number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. It was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all, in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country. Yeah.
On blue slips, Mr. President, Leader Thune doesn't seem like he wants to get rid of blue slips. Will there be consequences for the Senate?
Well, I think they should get rid of blue slips because as a Republican president, I am unable to put anybody in office having to do with U.S. attorneys or having to do with judges. In other words, if you have one, not two, you don't need two, just one. If you have one Democrat senator, well, we have a lot of them. You have one Democrat senator in a state, it is not possible to appoint, because of blue slips, a judge. It's not possible to appoint a U.S. attorney. You see that happening. And I think it's a disgrace. I think blue slips are a disgrace. They've long since I mean, they should not be relevant anymore.
Will there be?
This is a different world than it was 15, 20 years ago. You know, that was a gentleman and gentlewoman world. This is a little bit different, unfortunately. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, what do you want to see Congress do this week as it relates to health care and the expiring ACA
Yeah,
subsidies?
that's a good question. I'd like to see the people get the money. I'd like to see all of the money that's going to the Democrat insurance companies. You know, the insurance companies are making a fortune. They're up 1,700% and more. And they're taking in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, even trillions of dollars. And Obamacare gives you terrible health care. Just so you understand, Obamacare was set up, and I said it right from the beginning, for the benefit of the health insurance companies, of the insurance companies. They're making billions and billions of dollars. Their stock is through the roof. I don't want to give them anything. I want all money going to the people and let the people buy their own health care. It'll be unbelievable. They'll do a great job. They'll get much better health care at a much lower cost.
Sir, would you like Republicans next year to just use use reconciliation to do with health care exactly what you laid out, and they wouldn't have to worry about Democratic votes?
Well, that or knock out the filibuster. If you knocked out the filibuster, it would all go away, but we have a few people that wouldn't do that. It's crazy. Look, we should knock out the filibuster. And if you did that, we'd get voter ID. You'd have no mail-in voting. All things that make our elections dishonest. And you'd get a lot of other things having not even to do with voting. But Republicans should knock out the filibuster. And we should approve a lot of things. You wouldn't have January 30th looming, because you know you have the 30th of January looming. You know that. And if we knocked out the filibuster, it would be just a simple approval. But you have some Republicans that they're unable to explain why. You know, if you ask them why, they're unable to explain. They cannot win the debate. But they should knock out the filibuster. And frankly, they should get rid of the blue slips too. Yeah.
Mr. President, the Democrats won Miami, where you won the election 1 year ago. Do you think it's because of the Hispanic media like Telemundo that are publishing fake news about the ICE operations? How do you plan to win back those votes for midterms?
Yeah, well, I won that whole election, and you know, it's interesting. When I'm not running, we don't do as well.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and get that changed for the midterms. But we did have a big win in Tennessee, as you know. Matt Van Epps had a big win in Tennessee against a very strong candidate, attractive candidate, who a lot of people thought would do very well, and Matt won by a lot. And I won Tennessee by a real lot. You know, we had a great election. We won every single swing state. We won the popular vote. We won everything. And there's a thing that they have now, districts, which is a big deal. I think in a way it's the most important stat from the standpoint of, you know, looking at numbers accurately. So out of thousands of districts, I won 2,750 versus 525. Think of that, 2,750 versus 525. It was great. That's why the map, when you see a map of the election, it's all red, other than two little narrow lines on the other side. Please.
Sir, Jimmy Lai was convicted today in Hong Kong. Do you have any reactions?
I feel so badly. I spoke to President Xi about it, and I asked to consider his release. He's not well. He's an older man, and he's not well, so I did put that request out. We'll see what happens. Okay? Yeah, please, Katie.
Question about Ukraine. Now that the meetings in Berlin have wrapped up with Zelensky,
Right.
Is there a timetable for going to Moscow? Is the delegation going?
Well, I think that the delegation is largely there right now, actually. They're in Europe. And they met with those people that I called out before, the various countries, plus some others. They want to see it end, Katie. They want to see it end. They all. I want to see it end. They want to see it end. I actually think that President Putin wants to see it end. You know, I've had good talks. We've had good talks with Russia, and I think they'd like to get back to a more normal way of life.
And just to follow up there, an Article 5-like deal seems to be emerging without NATO membership for Ukraine. if such a security guarantee is offered, what incentive is there for Ukraine to give up any sort of territory?
Well, look, you have, well, they've already lost the territory, to be honest. I mean, the territory is lost. But in terms of security guarantee, we're working with Europe on it. Europe would be a big part of that. And we're working on the security guarantees so the war doesn't start up again. We don't want to have a war start up again. You know, as I said, with Thailand and Cambodia, two people I get along with great, and I dealt with them and I called them and I said, look, fellas, you gotta relax, you gotta take it easy. They lost, you know, they started the war again and I got it ended. And things like that are gonna happen, war. There's nothing pretty about war, nothing good, and there's nothing you can do to predict what's going to happen. But I think we've made a lot of progress with respect to Russia and Ukraine, I hope. You know, last month, it was close to 27,000 soldiers were killed, mostly soldiers, but 27,000 people, but mostly soldiers were killed last month in Russia versus Ukraine.
Is there a time limit on security guarantees?
Well, there's no time limit. The time limit is whenever we get it done. We're going to try to get it done. We're making progress. It's more difficult than anybody could have thought. I would have said that half of the wars that I got settled, some were going for over 30 years, that half of them should have been more difficult, and they actually haven't been. There's a lot of dislike between the two leaders, you know, and so it probably makes it a little bit tough.
Have you recently spoken directly to Putin?
Yeah, I have.
On Syria, Mr. President, on the U.S. troops killed in Syria over the weekend, why do we have troops in Syria?
Because we're trying to make sure that there's going to be and remain peace in the Middle East, and Syria is a big part of it. The new leader is a strong person, and that's what you need. This is a rough part of the world, and it's been amazing what's taken place in Syria. We got rid of Assad, we got rid of other people that were really bad people, and that were in the way of peace in the Middle East. You know, we have legitimate peace in the Middle East, first time in 3,000 years, and we have 59 countries backing it. And we'll see what happens with Hamas, we'll see what happens with Hezbollah, but regardless, I mean, we have countries that want to go in and clean that out if we want them to do it. But they said, in the case of Hamas, they said that they're going to disarm, and we're going to find out whether or not that's true. Hezbollah in Lebanon has been a problem. We'll see what happens there. But there is legitimate, large-scale peace in the Middle East. And if there weren't, we wouldn't have been able to make all of those deals that we've made with the various countries. They would have never been able to do that. If, for instance, if Iran, if we didn't, with that B-2 bomber right there on the desk, if we didn't, of which we just ordered a lot more of the newer version, totally stealth. They could not see it. They knew it was coming. They had no idea where it was. It was pretty amazing, actually. Every bomb hit its mark perfectly, despite CNN trying to say differently. They didn't know. They just, you know, hoped. They hoped that we didn't, but it turned out that they did. Atomic Energy Commission confirmed it. So did Iran confirm it. They got knocked to hell. But if we didn't knock out their nuclear capability, we would have never had peace in the Middle East, because you would have had a dark cloud hanging over Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and all the other countries, and they would have never, ever been able to sign an agreement. Yeah, please.
How soon do you expect that international stabilization force to be up and running in Gaza?
I think that it's, in a form, it's already running. In a very strong form, it's already. But it'll get stronger and stronger, and more countries are coming into it. They're already in. But they'll send any number of troops that I ask them to send. They want to see peace. We have more than 59 countries. We have many countries that aren't even in the Middle East, but they're fairly close to the Middle East. They want to be involved. So it's been pretty amazing.
Mr. President, this week a man named Keone Rodriguez is going to federal prison for creating crypto privacy software. The case was started under the Biden administration, but your DOJ kept it going and secured the conviction. A lot of people in crypto are saying that this man should be pardoned. Are you familiar with the case at all, or would you be interested?
I've heard about it. I'll look at it. Why, you think he should be pardoned? Sounds like it. Sounds like, based on your question.
Many people in
Rodriguez, we'll look at that, Pam. Okay, let's take a look at it. You'll have to tell me. I don't know anything about it, but we'll take a look.
On
Yeah,
Friday.
please.
Mr. President, market analysts are calling for a Santa rally. Typically, it's 5 trading days going to Christmas. You know, in the first 2 trading days in January, that's a sign of market optimism. Do you anticipate, along with the historical low gas prices, that continuing in the first quarter of next year?
Well, we've had the greatest stock market in history, Brian. We have a stock market that's gone up 52 times to new highs during a 10-month period, my 10 months. You know, my first 10 months, we set a record. 52 days, we had the highest stock market in history, including a day ago. And I didn't look today. Maybe it's up today, I don't know. But we had 52 altogether, and there's never been anything like it. And the reason are the tariffs have brought vast amounts of wealth into our country. That countries that have taken our car companies, those car companies are all coming back. The AI is coming at levels that nobody's ever seen before. That's going to be a massive industry. Without the tariffs, we wouldn't have that. Chips are coming in, chip companies are coming in from Taiwan and other places, but mostly from Taiwan, which has almost 100% of the market. And we're now making chips, and we're not paying anything. It's not the CHIPS Act where they give billions of dollars to companies and then they just take the money and they run. That was under Biden. The fact that I set tariffs up, and that if they don't make their chips here, they have to pay a big tariff. In order to send them into the U.S., they have to be here. You know, tariffs really work, in my opinion, almost only in the United States. They've been used against us successfully because we had presidents that had no clue. But tariffs really work. We have taken in hundreds of billions of dollars with tariffs, and more importantly, we've taken in countries and companies where, and even countries have sent their car-making people into the United States in order to avoid paying tariffs. And they'll build a plant and they'll hire our people to make the cars. But we now have, as you know, Toyota just approved $10 billion in manufacturing plants in the United States using our people. Without tariffs, none of that would have happened. Tariffs have given us great national security. There's nothing like what's happened in the last 10 months. Tariffs have given us tremendous national security and tremendous wealth. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, press, for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, press. Thank you.
Thank you, press.
You have been watching there Trump taking questions after giving out some medals on the southern border there. So we will keep our eye on the events, of course, happening over at the White House and what happens there. Trump taking many questions, addressing a lot, I would argue, talking a lot about these international stories that we're following on the, of course, the multiple wars that he's claimed. He's stopped speaking on the Middle East, saying there is now peace there. Israel and Hamas, specifically Russia and Ukraine. He also said he's working, of course, to get peace there. Spoke on the tariffs, really addressed a lot. I will say he did also say he was going to announce a lawsuit either later tonight or tomorrow morning on BBC. If you remember, I'll talk a little about it here. So, if you remember correctly, they had released a film, and then there were some shakeups in the higher ups at BBC because of this. They released a statement kind of saying, well, we're not going to work for a company that's kind of going to do that, and resigned. I don't have the exact brief in front of me. I'll have to look it up, and I might provide an update a little later. Let's turn to this story. Rob Reiner. Maybe we'll take it to. So we're having some really bad technical difficulties today, so we've been working through them throughout our broadcast. But again, Rob Reiner, his son, has been arrested after his death. We're going to talk a little bit about that, give you guys some information where things stand right now on that investigation. Plus, a terrorism plot in Southern California, and a Sydney, Australia terrorist attack. That's what it's being named as. We're going to talk all about this. It's been so much news going on, but that's all when we return right after this break. Hi, everybody. Welcome back in here to Brooklyn News Live. We are following that news. The son of Rob and Michelle Reiner, Nick Reiner, has been arrested. A look at the memorial growing for Rob Reiner and his wife. Both, of course, Rob Reiner, the filmmaker, his wife, a photographer. His son, Nick Reiner, the 32-year-old, was arrested and booked for murder after his parents were found dead Sunday afternoon in their Los Angeles home. Nick Reiner was taken into custody around 9:15 p.m. Sunday night and booked at 5:04 a.m. Monday. He's being held in a Los Angeles County jail with no bail. This is the release a news release from the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. Quote, as a result of the initial investigation, it was determined that the Reiners were the victims of homicide. The investigation further revealed that Nick Reiner was responsible for their deaths. So clearly, a case now against their son, Nick Reiner, for allegedly killing Rob and Michelle Reiner. Rob Reiner, of course, that director, actor whose career spanned decades in Hollywood. Michelle, singer Reiner, his wife of 36 years, again found dead at their home. The case is being handled by the department's Robbery Homicide Division. That's over at Los Angeles Police Department. So, really devastating to see what happened. There were reports late yesterday about all of this, about that their son was the one guilty of their death. We are getting reaction in from President Trump. We actually heard him being asked a question about this, about this statement here, if he regretted it in any way, because I'll read it out to you and let you weigh in on your reaction, what you believe he was meaning by this statement. He writes, quote, this is President Trump, of course, a very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with the mind-crippling disease known as Trump Derangement Syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness. And with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. That statement already gaining a lot of controversy, as you could imagine. He was asked a question about it, kind of asking, I believe, if you kind of regretted this. He said no, and that I think he reiterated, if I'm correct by in my top of my head memory from just moments ago reiterated that he had Trump derangement syndrome. Back there live in Los Angeles. Again, the big news, the big story here, the son of Rob and Michelle Reiner has been arrested. He's being held on a $4 million bond. We are going to follow this story as we get updates and when we do. Okay, we're also following updates in the Brown University shooting, and we have new video just in that we want to show you here. Again, new video just in of this Brown University suspect of the killing, the shooting that occurred there. We want to play it out for you. Take a look now. This is the new video we are getting in right now. As you take a look there, you are going to see the suspect there walking on the sidewalk as it continues to go. This is from on Waterman Street. The suspect walking briskly, but it doesn't appear running in any way, trying to get away in any way. Of course, the search is continuing as you continue to look there at that video. If you recall, yesterday morning, they announced that they had a person of interest in custody. Now we're learning they have released that person and are still looking for this suspect. He looks and appears to be wearing the same clothing he was wearing in the first video release. That is dark clothing, possibly as dark as black, maybe a different color jacket, top, I should say. Couldn't quite tell by the video here. This video's faint. I should say faint in the way of we can't really see a lot. We just see him walking there on the sidewalk there on Waterman Street. So the question now is there video of this man's face that might reveal anything? To bring you up to speed here on where this investigation stands, 2 are dead and 9 are injured, of course, after that shooting in the Morris and Holly building on the Brown University campus in Providence, Rhode Island. We were taking a look at a press conference and some video we had from the scene last hour. So this is also one of the stories we are going to keep our eyes on. I want to turn now to the House floor. They are addressing some legislation, or just were. We might see some more people speak as the House gets underway on this Monday afternoon. Let's listen in.
Mr. Speaker,
Gentlemen, everyone is reserved. Puerto Rico is recognized.
I have no further requests for time. We're prepared to close. I reserve.
The gentleman from Puerto Rico is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to support the legislation and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Puerto Rico yields. The gentleman from Minnesota is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, H.R. 972 will ensure that the people of Southern Nevada have a more reliable water supply with fewer risks of disruption. This legislation shows we can meet the needs of growing communities while being good stewards of America's public lands. I urge all my colleagues to support H.R. 972 and yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill, H.R. 972? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. For what purpose does the gentleman from Minnesota seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 1045.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar Number 236, H.R. 1045, a bill to amend the Southwest Forest Health and Wildlife.
Okay, so what you're kind of listening in there to, this is kind of basic business in like the Robert's Rule of Order type of thing. So you might see it at like city council meetings, they have to read the rule 3 times, read whatever they're trying to pass, the ordinance if you're in a city, the law if you're in the House of Representatives here before they're able to pass it, even if a vote is there to pass the bill. So it looks like they may be going to the
Revise
third.
and extend the remarks and to include extraneous material on HR 1045.
Okay, we'll keep monitoring that there in
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I'm
Washington, D.C.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of HR 1045
as the House of Representatives is meeting.
Institution Act.
Another feed we are watching live in Washington, D.C. is a Lyme disease roundtable being led by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Health and Human Services Secretary. Taking a look there at Dr. J. I'm not going to say the last name because I'm probably going to butcher it really bad. He's the director at the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, you'll often hear it referred to as. Again, this is on the Lyme disease. Let's listen in.
Why is it that you have this long-term immune reaction? Why is it so sometimes difficult to find evidence of Borrelia in the chronic conditions, but sometimes you can find it? These are mysteries that are solvable, and the investments that we're making at HHS, including at the NIH, are going to be the heart of solving it. Let me just give you some items from this. Actually, you heard earlier in the earlier panel about this tough study funded by the NIH, this prospective study of symptoms, events, and clinical outcomes for patients with Lyme disease. It's a very large study comparatively for looking at how Lyme is a prospective study for how the symptoms evolve over time, how biomarkers evolve over time, and how clinical outcomes respond to treatments. There are several teams looking at the potential role of peptidoglycans and other bacterial proteins and the antibodies they generate for possible role in persistent Lyme. We're supporting an ongoing clinical study using neuroimaging and blood markers after treatment to assess mechanisms of neurological symptoms associated with Lyme. We support several studies seeking to identify serological markers, antibodies that predict patient outcomes after treatment. And we are about to launch at the NIH Clinical Center with partnership with the Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C., a new clinical study that will improve our understanding for pediatric Lyme disease, which is an increasingly important problem. In fact, this is one of the commitments that we made in the Lyme disease framework to do, and we're going to launch that in early 2026. The NIH has multiple ongoing initiatives and studies on long COVID, ME/CFS, and other infection-associated chronic illnesses that may have similar underlying mechanisms. And studying these conditions together, finding what's in common and what's different, will help make advances in all of them. Again, Dr. Patterson, I think this is one of the things you're thinking along the same lines. While there's investments we've made in identifying new antibiotics that potentially could have a longer, better effects, as well as potentially protective monoclonal antibodies that can be used as a treatment strategy, evaluated in the usual rigorous NIH way. I've gone on long enough, so let me just say the NIH is committed to contributing to the overall Lyme strategy that the HHS and Secretary Kennedy has launched. And as I said, we've already committed to, we'll be launching this new pediatric Lyme initiative, as well as convening the new national NIH Lyme workshop to update federal research priorities on Lyme. I entirely agree with Dr. Jackson. We are the idea that Lyme is a intractable condition, patients are just making things up. Those days are long gone. Those are long gone. At HHS, we are absolutely committed to making sure we do the gold standard science to address your condition. And with the advances we're seeing, there's a real potential within a few short years that we'll have much better early predictive biomarkers, much better treatments, and real cures, maybe even then ways to prevent it that we don't currently have. But we're headed in that direction.
Thank you so much, Jay. Next, we have Dr. Harry
Alrighty, Dr. Jay Bachardia there speaking, the director of the National Institute of Health. At a Lyme disease roundtable, we're going to keep our eyes poured on where things go there. Might listen to it a little later as that panel continues again on Lyme disease in Washington, D.C. Want to turn to another big story we are monitoring there. Pretty big story, I would say. A terrorist attack. At least that's what it's being deemed as by Sydney, Australia officials on this Hanukkah event at Bondi Beach, again in Sydney, Australia. This was yesterday evening, I want to say yesterday evening, yeah. No, the evening before that. Maybe here, I'm sorry. It's going to be sometime this weekend. I believe it might have been Saturday night, Sunday morning, something of that nature. But again, that resulted, it was a shooting, ruled now as a terrorist attack and an anti-Semitic attack, resulting in 16 fatalities, including a young 10-year-old and 42 injuries. The suspect said to be a son and a father. The father now said to have died. The son said to be in critical condition at the local hospital there. We want to play that video for you in full to make sure we want to play a press conference from earlier in full. This was yesterday in Sydney, Australia. Again, in full here to give you guys the full scope of this event. A pretty devastating event. Excuse me here, I'm just getting a few things ready. Looks like we've got it ready. Again, this is yesterday in Sydney, Australia, a press conference being held on that deadly shooting.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This morning I spoke about the recommencement of our operation to make sure that we support the Jewish community, make sure that we have confidence in the Jewish community. There are over 320 police being deployed today. We will continue to increase that number to make sure that the Jewish community feels safe, know that police are there to protect them and they can go about their life. The type of atrocities we saw yesterday can't be tolerated, and it's not fair that any section of the community cannot go around their usual way of life. I understand, and the New South Wales Police understand, the fear that is currently within that community, and I think it's really important that we show the resolute support for the community so that they can go around their way of life. This morning I've had the opportunity to visit these and the officers who were injured yesterday. Both sets of families are incredibly supportive of the support they are getting from the police family. One of the important things about this is the way that the New South Wales Police Force has come together to make sure that we support each other and support those brave officers who went forward yesterday. There are many, many stories of bravery from members of the community as well, and I really want to acknowledge the work that was done yesterday. We know that a number of people are alive now because of the actions of innocent bystanders, and I thank them for the work that they're doing. Our investigation under Operation ARCS is continuing. I'll only provide limited updates on that. What's really important is to say that we do have a 24-year-old male in hospital at the moment. Based on his medical condition, it is likely that that person may face criminal charges. I'm very mindful of not prejudicing any prosecution of that person if they're put before the court. Very happy to take questions later on. Might hand over to the Premier. Can I just say, I have reiterated this message several times in the past press conferences. This is a time for calm. Retribution or acts against any part of any community will not be accepted. We will have a significant policing presence. This is a time for the community to come together. This is a time that police will take action to make sure the community feels safe. This is not what we expect in New South Wales, these types of actions. What we saw yesterday is abhorrent. We have taken firm action. We are keen to make sure the community now heals. Very happy to take questions later. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Thanks all for being here this afternoon. Obviously, a very trying day in Sydney. This morning, with the Treasurer and the Minister for Multiculturalism, I met with Jewish community leaders, spoke with several of them on the phone and reiterated the public's unswerving support of that community during this incredibly dark hour, and to let them know that the people of Australia are behind them and are with them and are grieving with them today. This is a shocking act of violence, as we've said, and it needs to be met with an overwhelming government, community and police response. Operation Shelter will be overwhelming, and it may be inconvenient for people in the coming days, but we need to send a clear message to the people of this state and those in the affected community that have seen so much violence and damage, that New South Wales Police are there to protect them, to keep them safe, and that they've got every right to celebrate their faith and enjoy this festive period free from the profound worry and sadness associated with this horrible violence. A few things I'll just get to before I hand over to the Police Minister. A memorial site's been established at the rear of the Bondi Pavilion. I've noticed that people are already laying flowers at that site. We'd encourage members of the community to do that. It's encouraging to see record inquiries and massive lines at blood donation services across New South Wales. Please be patient if you'd like to make that act of civic duty, but it is warmly welcomed and it will go to a good cause. It's something practical that you can do in response to this terrible act. The New South Wales Crisis Cabinet committee, I should say, met last night. It'll meet again this afternoon and daily after that. National Cabinet's Crisis Committee meeting will meet as well this afternoon, and myself and the Police Commissioner will be on that with national security officials. We'll meet the National Security Committee this afternoon. We're urging people, if they have information or they'd like information, to contact the Public Information and Inquiry Centre. It's open and is operating 24/7 on 1800 227 228. The Public Information and Inquiry Centre will answer general queries and also register for people who are forced to leave personal possessions in the immediate vicinity that may be still under police protection or a police block. We know that there's cars, wallets and phones that are in that area. That's the best number to call to retrieve your personal belongings. Operation Shelter, as the Police Commissioner has said, is up and operational, but that will be beefed up in the coming days. Bondi Beach, public school remains closed because of its proximity to the scene. School counselling services have been arranged at nearby public schools, and I understand that Premier's Department counsellors are on site with a vest if people need immediate emergency mental health support or counselling. They're working on setting up a static operation on site in Bondi if you need that help and support, as no doubt the community will. Having spoken to Jewish community leaders today, they're reeling and in crisis, and obviously many of them are incredibly distressed at what they've seen. The latest information is 15 innocent people are dead. One of the perpetrators is dead. 16 in total. 38 people remain in New South Wales hospitals being treated. And that's all I'll say right now. I'll hand over to the Police Minister.
Thanks so much, Premier. As the Premier just said, the Premier's counsellors are out on site, and I've just come back from Bondi, and I can honestly say how valuable their contribution is, stopping not only officers but just generally people who are out there, and they really are having a big impact. So important that we get that message out. If you need to speak to someone, we do actually have that operation out there. We've got experts out there wanting to help. Also went out to see the police and to thank the police out there. We have police from commands right across metropolitan Sydney out and Bondi at the moment, around that area. And again, you know, like only too often, the police got a phone call this morning who were on to 4:15 and were directed to go straight out there, and not a hesitation. No hesitation whatsoever. The Blue family is really all behind each other. They're behind the community, and they are only too happy to be of assistance in keeping our community safe. I spoke with some Jewish leaders out there. They were so thankful of the police and the work that they've been doing. As we well know, the relationship between the Jewish community and the New South Wales Police is strong, and they have been working with CSG and our Jewish leaders for a couple of years now, given the circumstances that we have been in that community. I also just wanted to advise you that last night the Premier and I were over at Bondi. We went to the police station, and there were at least 50, 60 police officers there. Most of them weren't on duty. They just heard the event, put their uniform on, got in their car and drove to Bondi Police Station because they knew they'd be needed. We had them not just their pack, their locals, as far as Newcastle, Sutherland, Western Sydney, you name it. Here in New South Wales do a great job, and they are here to support each other, they're here to support our community, and we're very thankful for that.
Happy to take questions.
Commissioner, the ABC's reported that the younger shooter was under investigation by ASIO 6 years ago for connections to a Sydney-based Islamic State terror group. Were any red flags raised within the police about his father's gun licence with 6 registered serious firearms, given they have known connections to Islamic State?
I certainly can't talk about what information the Commonwealth may have had, but certainly in terms of a firearms licence, the Firearms Registry conduct a thorough examination of all applications to ensure a person is fit and proper to hold a firearms licence.
Does that include associations with their family members?
It absolutely can, depending on the nature of the association, depending on the nature of the intelligence that's there. They have to weigh up all of those things in accordance with the Firearms Act.
Premier, how can the gun laws be changed? Premier, how can we change the gun law so a man in suburbia doesn't have 6 licensed firearms? He's not a farmer after all.
Yeah, well, look, we're looking at that as we speak. I think it's time that we have a change to the law in relation to the firearms legislation in New South Wales, but I'm not ready to announce it today. We want to make sure that prospective reform and change in New South Wales has a lasting impact, but it's not the last time I'll be mentioning it, and you can expect action soon.
Why was he granted a firearm licence?
I can't answer that question.
Do we have that information on hand, Commissioner?
Because he met the eligibility criteria for a firearms licence. So the firearms licence was to be for a recreational hunting licence. There are 2 types of hunting licence, the ability to hunt on a property or also as part of a hunting club, so a gun club. He was a member of a gun club and was entitled, by nature of the Firearms Act, to have a firearms licence issued. Sorry, just one at a time, please. Pardon?
Do we know which gun?
I don't have those details with me at the moment.
What category of gun licence did he hold? I understand that different categories allow you to register different types of firearms.
He had a Category AB licence, which entitled him to have the long arms that he had as registered firearms.
Commissioner, does the New South Wales Firearms Registry talk to federal authorities? Like, would they have known what ASIO knew about his son?
Depending on the nature of it, and as I said this morning, that's very much under investigation at the moment. We want to understand whether the person was, and certainly by criteria, he was eligible to hold a firearms licence. We do take into account all intelligence that's available, so yes, we certainly do that.
Premier, have any discussion with their investigations into the 24-year-old individual?
With all Commonwealth agencies. As I said, I'm not going to go into what information ASIO may have held. We will work closely with the Commonwealth.
Premier, do you have concerns that this might be a case of federal agencies not talking to New South Wales Police, and are you going to raise that concern this afternoon?
Look, I mean, I think it's reasonable in the circumstances to allow a full investigation and an inquiry to take place. There's a sequence here that's important. Firstly, community safety. Secondly, the investigation. There's an offender in custody. That prosecution is hugely important in terms of justice for the victims. And of course, a comprehensive investigation as to what went wrong. What could we do better? Is there better lines of communication? I'm not in a position now to criticise it, and I think it wouldn't be the right thing to do within 24 hours of this shocking, violent attack to be pronouncing failures here without the aid of an independent investigation. What I can promise is that's exactly what we will provide here in New South Wales. It's important that we get all the information on the table, and I want to make it clear we will act on those recommendations.
Josh Frydenberg, the former Treasurer, has said...
The Huntington event last night, is it true that private security there weren't allowed to hold firearms? And if so, can you explain why?
I don't know. Take that away and come back to you. They would have to be appropriately licensed to have those firearms. Sorry?
Was it a user-paid event? Can you tell us maybe how many police, or what was the police presence in the area at the time of the event, and how serious take any, I guess, potential security concern at the event?
Police always take safety personally. We're always mindful of community safety. There were active taskings for the local police area command to be down there. In fact, the police area commander had been down there through the location. So it's one of those ones we work closely with the security group, the Jewish security group, CSG, and then make sure that we have a policing presence that is there. I think what I can say, and the reassurance I can give the community, is the prompt response by police indicates very clearly that police take security safe.
Can you just give us a timetable of when the first fired, when the, how long did it go on for, and when were the shooters taken out?
No, I can't give you that right at the moment. That's obviously part of the investigation. What I have said is that there were police at the scene at the time. Police responded promptly. I think we have seen very clearly on footage the bravery of officers and members of the public who took very prompt action to resolve this matter.
But John Sorbo, the former treasurer, has been
How
saying...
many police were specifically staged to the event?
As I said, it was taskings, so police from the police area command and other police that we have within the metropolitan area will be around that event. So it's an active tasking to be around the event.
Well, on that point, Josh Frydenberg, the former treasurer, is saying...
How many officers would have been stationed at that event?
I don't have the exact number. As I said, they were tasking, so officers are continually going through that location. There were certainly officers there at the time when the incident occurred and responded very promptly.
There should have been more there given the climate of anti-Semitism at the moment?
Look, I think in terms of the risk assessment, we certainly work closely with the Jewish community. I've made it really clear that there was no specific intelligence in relation to the incident itself. We responded very promptly.
Commissioner, are you able to confirm that a black Shahada flag was found either laid out on the bonnet of the car or inside the car? That's what the ABC has been told by other police sources.
Yeah, that's very much part of the investigation. At this stage, I'm not prepared to confirm any of that. Further information will be provided. I think I've also made it quite clear with a person who is currently in hospital at the moment who may well face criminal charges. It's important that I don't prejudice any prosecution.
How would you describe the police response, Commissioner? How would you describe the act of bravery of officers?
I think that's been really clear. I think anyone who has seen the footage will have seen police going forward to take positive action. It would have been an incredibly chaotic and terrifying scene, even for well-trained police officers. The fact that two persons had long arms and were indiscriminately firing them says that the act of bravery about going forward is something we should all celebrate. The police went forward, took very positive action, resolved the matter again with some outstanding bravery by members of the public.
Who's in charge of the investigation and how will it work and where will it be based out of?
There's several investigations underway at the moment. I spoke this morning. The Joint Counter-Terrorism investigation will be led by our Counter-Terrorism Command with our Commonwealth agencies. At the same time, there is a critical incident investigation because we know that police fired a number of shots which resulted in the death of a person and also the injury to a second offender. Investigations underway at the moment.
Commissioner, Josh Frydenberg saying that the police failed the Jewish community knowing it was the first day of Hanukkah.
Look, I respect a person having an opinion, but I've been really clear. Our police responded promptly. Our police respond very promptly. We work closely with the Jewish community. We are very attuned with providing support to the Jewish community.
Commissioner, what can you tell us about...
And not private security or anyone else involved?
What I can say to you is that's currently part of the investigation. Obviously, that's something that will come through pathologist investigation, but also forensics and ballistics investigation. That is part of an active investigation.
Without divulging the ideologies or any symbols at the scene, was the flag recovered? What evidence was taken away from the scene linked to those gunmen?
Last night, I declared a terrorist incident at 9:36 p.m. because I was satisfied, based on the circumstances, based on what was located at the scene, based on the fact that it was there, and what appeared to be a deliberate shooting towards members of the Jewish community, that it was a terrorist act. I'm not going to go into individual pieces of evidence. They are subject to the investigation. I want to make sure that we do a very thorough and transparent investigation, which is what our police are doing at the moment.
Commissioner, were the gunmen Australian citizens, and if not, can you tell us how long they've been in Australia for?
I'm not prepared to comment on that at the moment. That's all part of the investigation.
Is there anything more you know about the two shooters that you can divulge to us?
I divulged this morning that they are both a father and a son. They have obviously a connection for quite a period of time within Australia. The father has held a firearms licence since 2015. We are very much working through the background of both persons, At this stage, we know very little about them.
Has anything come up on social media?
Oh, there's a lot of things on social media at the moment.
Social media and potential items?
No, that's part of the investigation. So you can imagine we have significant evidence that we're going through at the moment, whether it's CCTV, whether it's social media. We stood up Operation Shelter at the moment. They will actually scrape through social media as well as the investigators. We're keen to find out any evidence that may be available. If people do have information or evidence, we ask that they contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. We would like every bit of evidence.
Commissioner, in April of this year, your predecessor said that the relationship and information sharing between the police and the New South Wales Police on counter-terrorism needed to be reviewed and improved. Since that time, how has that relationship been improved, reviewed and improved?
I think both organisations work very well. It is too premature in relation to this specific incident to talk about the information sharing. The Australian Federal Police and the New South Wales Police obviously work within joint counter-terrorism arrangements. We are committed as both agencies, and I've spoken to the Federal Police Commissioner, to make sure we work closely. Together, we keep the community safer, so I'm very confident that both are.
Premier, just a question there, Premier, sorry, Premier. We've got this incident yesterday where the shooter had a gun licence. We've had John Edwards, Jack Eltis and a neo-Nazi until recently had a gun licence. Clearly, New South Wales has a checkered recent history with people with gun licence in criminal acts. Doesn't our gun registry laws need to change? What can you do now to ensure this doesn't happen again?
Yes, they need to change and they can change. It does require, and it means introducing a bill to Parliament to, to be really blunt, make it more difficult to get these horrifying weapons that have no practical use in our community. If you're not a farmer, if you're not involved in agriculture, these massive weapons that put the public in danger and make life dangerous and difficult for New South Wales Police. So I understand, of course I understand, the genuine desire to have information about how the law will change. We're less than 24 hours into this horrifying crime. I want to make sure that legislation and reform that we bring to Parliament makes a big difference, but that's exactly my intention, and my colleagues feel exactly the same way.
Premier, what about an audit of current firearm licence holders to determine whether the people who currently have a licence still need one, considering that we had a man in suburban Sydney with 6 firearms?
Yeah, that has been flagged by New South Wales Police as an issue because the granting of a firearms licence in perpetuity is clearly not fit for purpose when you consider that someone might have committed an offence, put themselves in a situation where they're considered by police vulnerable to a criminal act. We need to make sure the firearms legislation in New South Wales is fit for purpose. That does mean restricting firearms for the general public, for the people of New South Wales, but not everybody needs these weapons of mass destruction. You don't need them on New South Wales streets. So we will be looking at change. But I understand you want details. That's completely understandable. You're going to have to give me some time to get the legislation drafted so that we can do it in an appropriate way, in a way that will make a difference.
Will you consider recalling Parliament to make
Yes.
those changes?
But Premier, can I ask, will the Opera House be lit up this week to honour the victims?
We're working with the Jewish community about appropriate reflections and memorials, and we'll have more to say about that soon.
Is that an appropriate memorial?
It may well be, but I'm not ready to announce it at the moment.
Yes.
Will the government consider changes to New Year's Eve celebrations and consider increased security given threats that are circulating online about potential additional violent events? And Commissioner, is police aware of those threats being made online?
Look, of course that's a massive issue. While police, the government have turned our minds to those big celebrations, those iconic days in Sydney, but at the moment our immediate focus is on this investigation and keeping the community of Bondi, Dover Heights safe.
Premier, are you aware, or Commissioner, any of you are aware about a social media post circulating about a violent rally in Cronulla on the 27th of December?
Well, I'll answer it and then throw to Mal. Just say that will be met with the full force of the law. There will be no tolerance for any kind of retribution or some kind of vindictive counter assault on anyone in our community. We are not going to allow ever a situation where we descend into some kind of lawlessness, and if you are considering participating in something like that, you can expect a massive, overwhelming police response. It will not be tolerated. We need to appeal for calm. We need to be in a situation where we're saying to the people of New South Wales, this is a horrible event. You have to allow the communities in New South Wales to heal, to have some moment of reflection where they can mourn the loss of their loved ones. The last thing we need is a descent into vindictive violence, and we won't tolerate it in New South Wales. Mel?
Yeah, thanks, Premier. I'm actually aware of that social media post. One of the key roles of Operation Shelter is to make sure that we scrape intelligence, to make sure that we plan appropriate responses. So this will be an ongoing process. We will be looking for matters that we need to plan a police response about. Our focus is clear: to keep the community safe. If people think that they're going to engage in violence, they're wrong. The police will be there, the police will take appropriate action, and I want to make that really clear. Calm is what is required at the moment. Retribution is inappropriate. The community is in grief, the community is mourning. We need calm.
Thank you very much, everyone. Let's go.
Alrighty, there, a press conference from yesterday in Sydney, Australia. We just lost that feed. There we go. We're back now here in Brookland News headquarters. I'm Jackson Mitchell. Here's what we're going to do here. We're going to sneak in a quick break. When we come back, a folded terror plot to New Year's Eve terror plot. There we go. We're also waiting on an update on the Brown University shooting. We're expected to get a press conference here in just a few moments. When we get that, we'll take you right to it. In the meantime, a quick break. Brookland News Live returns here in just a moment. Welcome back in here to Brooklyn News Live. A lot of headlines that we are following. I'm Jackson Mitchell. It is good to be with you. We're gonna continue following all of these stories. We are waiting to get a camera inside this room for a press conference we expect to begin here in just a moment. At 5 p.m. is when it's scheduled, so that's 4 p.m. here Central Time. So about 10 minutes from now, we're waiting on it to begin. When it does, we will take you there. In the meantime, let's take you out live to the House of Representatives, who is debating legislation. They've actually, just moments ago, they approved legislation, I should say, remembering those, not the National Guard members, excuse me, those killed in Syria. Is what we're just getting in. Let's listen in for just a moment. Again, lawmakers debating legislation on the House floor for just a moment. We'll have more coming soon on that press conference from Brown University.
For example, the Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980 caused more than $1 billion in damage. Adjusting for inflation, that figure would now exceed $4 billion today. Damage estimates for volcanic eruptions can swing wildly depending on many factors, but are most always severe, underscoring the need for early warning and monitoring. Obviously, protecting human life is our paramount concern in monitoring volcanic activity. But it's not just people on the ground who are at risk. Aircraft that are flying within 1,000 miles of a volcano eruption can experience damage if they're not made aware of the smoke. Volcanic eruptions can be detrimental and even fatal to passengers and crew. The lives of families near erupting volcanoes are priceless, far surpassing the value of any damaged infrastructure. To protect those lives, we must be able to monitor volcanic activity effectively and broadcast early warnings of eruptions. This is why Congress should reauthorize this critical program so that communities near volcanoes are provided ample time to react to an eruption and so that air traffic is warned of potential dangers. The NVIEW's Advisory Committee is integral to this program. It provides the Secretary of the Interior with information on current program activities and relevant research that may provide the program going forward. The committee cannot meet while the program is unauthorized. However, so reauthorization is essential to get the committee working again. While we cannot stop volcanic eruptions, we can take prudent steps to minimize damage and the loss of life. That's precisely what this program is intended to do. I ask my colleagues to join me in supporting this bill, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Puerto Rico is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in strong support of this bill to reauthorize the National Volcano Early Warning and Monitoring System. This program is essential to the public safety mission of the United States Geological Survey. Working in coordination with the Department of Transportation, the Federal Aviation Administration, NOAA, and FEMA, the National Volcano Early Warning and Monitoring System helps us better forecast volcanic activity and prepare for emergencies. This forecasting helps save lives, protects property, and safeguards our infrastructure. This program reflects that the federal government works best in coordination with the community, and it supports outside science and expertise. It works in partnership with local government and emergency managers, provides grants to universities and research institutions, and ensures that data is shared openly with the public. That means communities have the information they need when it counts the most. The early warning system was first authorized through the bipartisan Dingell Act with a clear mission to monitor, warn, and protect. Since then, scientists have been able to expand our volcano monitoring program to ensure that every dangerous volcano in the United States is tracked at appropriate levels, allowing experts to issue timely and accurate warnings to protect communities from avoidable harm. I am grateful for the bipartisan work my colleagues put into this bill to ensure that the program gets the funding it deserves. I'm happy to support the continuity of this program and urge my colleagues to do the same. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Minnesota is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Alaska, the lead sponsor of this bill, Mr. Begich.
The gentleman from Alaska is recognized for 3 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of H.R. 3176.
the bill to reauthorize the National Volcano Early Warning and Monitoring System. This is a program of national importance. Volcano monitoring strengthens safety and emergency preparedness across the country, from the Cascades to Hawaii to the Rockies. But there's no question that Alaska has the most at stake. Our state is home to over 130 active volcanoes, by far the largest concentration in the United States. These aren't isolated or dormant. Mount Spur, just 80 miles from Anchorage, reached a yellow alert level due to elevated seismic activity earlier this year, and it's still listed as a very high threat by the most recent edition of the USGS National Volcanic Threat Assessment. If it erupts, as it did in 1992 and 1953, ashfall could shut down air traffic, damage critical infrastructure, and put lives at risk. H.R. 3176 is a straightforward 5-year reauthorization that keeps the program funded and operational. It maintains existing funding levels, but provides the U.S. Geological Survey and its partners with the continuity that they need to monitor high-threat volcanoes and coordinate real-time alerts with emergency responders. Early warning is essential. It gives pilots time to reroute, gives communities time to prepare, and saves lives, especially in rural, high-risk states like Alaska, where response logistics are already challenging. This is a bipartisan, science-based system that works. I urge my colleagues to support H.R. 3176 and ensure that every community living in the shadow of volcanic risk has the tools to stay safe. Thank you, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The gentleman from Minnesota is recognized.
Reserve.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Puerto Rico is recognized.
I have no further requests for time. We are prepared to close. I reserve.
Gentleman reserves.
I reserve as well.
Gentleman from Minnesota also reserves. The gentleman from Puerto Rico is recognized to close.
I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields. The gentleman from Minnesota can close.
Mr. Speaker, in closing, I would again like to commend my colleague from Alaska, Mr. Begich, for working to pass meaningful legislation that can save lives. With that, I urge my colleagues to join me in supporting H.R. 3176, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 3176 as amended? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. For what purpose does the gentleman from Minnesota seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 3187 as amended.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar Number 248, H.R. 3187, a bill to require the Secretary of Agriculture to convey a parcel of property of the Forest Service to Perry County, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Stauber, and the gentleman from Puerto Rico, Mr. Hernandez, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Minnesota.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and to include extraneous material in H.R. 3187, the bill now under consideration.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in strong support of H.R. 3187, led by my friend and colleague from Arkansas, Representative Hill. This legislation directs the Secretary of Agriculture to convey a vacant Forest Service building and less than 1 acre of surrounding land in Perryville, Arkansas, to Perry County. This property has sat vacant for years, and the Forest Service has no plans for its use. In the meantime, the building has been damaged by weather and continues to decline structurally. Every year, it stays vacant, resulting in higher repair costs and increased liability for the federal government and taxpayers. Instead of watching this asset deteriorate, we have the chance to put it to productive use for the local community. For more than a decade, Perry County sought to acquire this site to meet pressing needs in education, conservation, and youth development. The county intends to renovate and repurpose the building to provide a permanent home for the University of Arkansas Extension Program, the Perry County Conservation District, and 4-H youth programs. Having a dedicated facility will allow these organizations to expand their services and better support the people of Perry County. This bill is also fiscally responsible. It will eliminate the federal cost of maintaining an idled, deteriorating building. By transferring the site, we stop wasting resources and empower local leaders to transform a declining federal property into a hub for education, conservation, and youth programs. H.R. 3187 is a common sense solution. It cuts cost, eliminates waste, and supports youth engagement in conservation. I'd like to commend Representative Hill for his champion this thoughtful legislation, which will support community development in rural county, in the rural county with limited resources. I urge my colleagues to join me in supporting 3187, H.R. 3187, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Puerto Rico is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of H.R. 3187, a bill to convey a small but meaningful parcel of Forest Service property to Perry County, Arkansas. This legislation would direct the Secretary of Agriculture to convey a little less than 1 acre of land located in Perryville, Arkansas, including any structures on the property, to Perry County, should the county request the transfer within 180 days of enactment. While modest in size, this land holds important local value. It currently houses a building previously used by the U.S. Forest Service, which Perry County hopes to repurpose for local administrative use, public services, or other community-focused purposes. The conveyance would be subject to existing rights and environmental safeguards and would be made without cost to the county, other than administrative and survey-related expenses which Perry County would cover. This is a common-sense, community-driven bill that reflects how federal land policy can and should be responsive to local needs. It would ensure that unused federal property can be repurposed to save the public good while preserving transparency, accountability, and proper oversight. I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Minnesota is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 4 minutes to the gentleman from Arkansas, the lead sponsor of this bill, Mr. Hill.
The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Stauber, thank you for the time. I do rise in support of my bill, H.R. 3187. First, I want to thank my good friend, fellow Arkansan Chairman Westerman, for advancing my bill from the committee to this House floor. I thank all the members of the Natural Resources Committee for their bipartisan and unanimous support. As noted, my bill seeks to transfer ownership of a vacant federal building owned by the U.S. Forest Service at 1069 Fush Avenue in Perryville, Arkansas, Perry County. This property is no longer in use by the Forest Service, and there are no plans for its utilization by them. And that's been the case, Mr. Speaker, for well over a decade. Perry County is a very small rural community with a population of around 10,000. About 16% of the residents there live below the poverty line. 77% of the county is forested, and 72% of that land is privately owned. The U.S. Forest Service is the largest public landowner in the county, managing 119,000 acres as a part of the Ouachita National Forest. For several years, the county has mightily sought to acquire this property. However, due to limited resources, that high poverty rate, this small county has been unable to easily navigate the complex federal rules and to find a way to purchase the property outright. My legislation would enable the federal government to convey the property at no cost to the county with all the benefits that Mr. Stauber outlined. The building has many significant repairs, but the county does have that repair budget appropriately. Once restored, the facility will support many local programs, specifically the University of Arkansas Extension Program, the Perry County Conservation District, and importantly, serve as a meeting place for our 4-H Youth Development Program. These organizations are currently struggling with limited options for meeting space in Perryville. This cures that problem. My bill provides Perry County with this much-needed facility to expand youth development, agriculture, education, and community health initiatives. I want to thank Perry County Judge Larry Blackman, Perryville Mayor John Rowland, the Perry County Extension Office, the Perry County Chamber of Commerce, and the Perry County Farm Bureau, all for working with us collectively, both on the Natural Resources Committee staff and my staff, to bring this and make it a reality. I urge my colleagues to join the committee and myself in supporting a unanimous vote for H.R. 3187, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Arkansas yields. The gentleman from Minnesota
Reserves.
and is prepared to close.
Prepared to close.
The gentleman from Puerto Rico is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to support the legislation, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Puerto Rico yields. The gentleman from Minnesota is recognized to close.
Mr. Speaker, H.R. 3187 is about turning a federal liability into a community asset. Right now, taxpayers are stuck with the cost of a vacant building that continues to deteriorate. With this bill, we can remove that burden, transfer the property to Perry County, Arkansas, and allow local leaders to put it to work serving their community. This legislation will provide a permanent home for programs that strengthen conservation, support farmers and landowners, and create new opportunities for young people through 4-H extension services. It's a practical, cost-effective solution that delivers real value. I once again would like to thank Representative Hill for his hard work on this bill, and I urge my colleagues to vote in favor of today. Thank you, and I yield the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 3187 as amended? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in...
Mr. Speaker, I demand the yeas and the nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. All those in favor of taking this vote by the yeas and nays will rise and remain standing until counted. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed. For what purpose does the gentleman from Minnesota seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 3872 as amended.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar Number 309, H.R. 3872, a bill to amend the Mineral Leasing Act for acquired lands to make that act applicable to hard rock minerals.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Stauber, and the gentleman from Puerto Rico, Mr. Hernandez, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Minnesota.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and to include extraneous material on H.R. 3872, the bill now under consideration.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of H.R. 3872, which would amend the Mineral Leasing Act for acquired lands, clarifying that all lands acquired by the federal government are eligible to be considered for hard rock mineral leasing. I'd like to thank my colleagues, Representative Fallon, for his work on this bipartisan piece of legislation. Acquired lands comprise 10% of the nation's federal lands, or 64 million acres. The Mineral Leasing Act for acquired lands governs mineral leasing for a wide range of resources on these lands. However, the existing statute leaves out hard rock minerals. As a result, acquired federal lands holding key critical minerals have effectively been locked up. This includes vast deposits in the Smackover Formation, which spans across the southeastern United States and hosts some of America's best lithium reserves. Specifically in Northeast Texas, the Bureau of Land Management is currently unable to even consider hard rock mineral leasing for a lithium-rich portion of the Smackover Formation because it is located on land acquired by the federal government more than 80 years ago under a statute that does not explicitly allow hard rock mineral leasing. H.R. 3872 would address this issue by providing a much-needed technical fix to the Mineral Leasing Act for acquired lands, giving the Secretary of the Interior the authority to tap into our vast mineral wealth across all types of acquired lands. As we seek to reshore our key mineral supply chains, we must ensure that no stone gets left unturned. By allowing greater access to tens of millions of acres of acquired lands, this legislation will help to break our reliance on adversarial nations like China. Again,
Alrighty, you have been listening into the House of Representatives. We want to take you to some news coming in right now. You are taking a look live there now on your screen at a press conference about to get underway in Providence, Rhode Island. You see there Mayor Brett Smiley about to speak at this press conference. An update on the Brown University shooting. Let's listen in.
Okay, everyone ready? Everyone set? Good. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Again, I'm Providence Mayor Brett Smiley. In a few moments, we will hear from Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee, Providence Police Chief Colonel Oscar Perez, and then Ted Dock, Special Agent in Charge from the FBI. I'm going to start with a brief update and then just to let folks know about the work that we continue to do to reassure residents in Providence that they're safe in their community, and we are grateful for all of the assistance that we have continued to receive. As we announced last night, we would be providing enhanced police coverage throughout the Brown community, throughout the East Side, and really throughout the city of Providence. And what residents and neighbors saw today was exactly that. There was specific enhanced coverage in Fox Point, Wayland Square, on Thayer Street, and on Hope Street, which are the commercial districts in the area. And I want to express the city's profound gratitude to the following departments who provided mutual assistance and additional coverage today. First and foremost, the Rhode Island State Police have been excellent partners, and I'm grateful for the governor of making sure that those resources are available to us here in Providence. But we were also assisted today by friends from neighboring communities here in Rhode Island, which is a terrific way in which our colleagues from throughout Rhode Island have been assisting. Today we had extra help from North Kingstown, North Providence, East Providence, Central Falls, and Pawtucket. Many other communities have offered to help, and we expect to take that help in the days to come. But through that mutual assistance of our neighboring communities, we were able to provide that additional coverage. Secondly, we were able to provide coverage to our schools today. We did have school here in Providence. I'm glad we had school today in Providence. We'll have school tomorrow in Providence. This is the last week of the semester, and it's important for kids to be in school, and so we're encouraging parents to do what's right for their family. We understand that there are probably difficult conversations happening at the kitchen table right now, but if you're comfortable, you should send your kid to school. Providence Public Schools are open, and we have police coverage at drop-off and pickup times to provide that extra sense of safety and security for our families. I spent the morning out at our schools too in the neighborhood to be there for our parents, and they certainly were glad to see an officer helping out. And so, as we've said many times, but it's important to continue to say we're so grateful for the tireless effort of law enforcement, not just to assist with the investigation, but to help all of us feel safe in our home. At this time, I'm going to turn the mic over to our Governor Dan McKee.
Thanks, Mayor. And just like all of us, we want to see the individual that pulled the trigger on these young kids identified, apprehended, and brought to justice. I can tell you from the state level, we're continuing to coordinate our state police and instructed the colonel to make sure that all the resources that are available are being employed through the direction of the mayor, but that partnership is incredibly important. I also know that the schools are not only being impacted on the higher education in Providence and also the K through 12, but I also have heard and have been in contact with our Commissioner of Higher Education, Shannon Gilkey, along with our Commissioner of K through 12, Henela Infante Green, to make sure that we are reassessing all safety issues in all our schools in the state of Rhode Island, and more to come on that. The issues that have to do with mental health, coordinating around the state through our higher ed and through our K through 12. I've assigned Director Rick Leclerc to make sure that they're coordinating all of the social services, all the mental health help that's out there, so that we can kind of also deliver that on a statewide basis. I was at Family Services Rhode Island today on Hope Street, and just seeing what they're doing, and it's being duplicated all around the state of Rhode Island. So I think it's important that we do everything we can out of the governor's office to support what's happening at Brown, the community of Brown, Providence, but also knowing that this is impacting on a statewide basis. So we're deploying that efforts to make the effort to let people know that we want to do everything we can so they can be safe and feel safe. And then finally, we want to make sure that all Rhode Islanders know that everything that is physically possible is being done, and partnering in with our federal, the FBI, our state law enforcement, and also the local law enforcement to bring an individual and identify and bring that person to justice. We also have been involved in communicating with the League of Cities and Towns today. Through Randy Rossi, they've sent out a message to deploy their vehicles, their police vehicles, at the beginning of the school day, at the end of the school day, all around the state of Rhode Island to, again, show that we're serious about having people and the families feel safe, and that everything that's being done to make sure that happens on a statewide basis, because this has become a statewide issue that is being impacted families and people throughout the state of Rhode Island. Mayor?
Now we'll hear from Colonel Oscar Perez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for being here again. Here we are once again to provide you some of the highlights and the progress that the Providence Police Department, along with several agencies, have gone together and stepped up to come up to this. I want to remind you that this is a very active investigation, very complex investigation, and it's the dedicated work of the men and women of the Providence Police Department, the Detective Division, the Community Response Team, the Special Response Team. It's all hands on deck. And on top of it all, you have the state police who's assisting us, and every other federal partner that has been in this building for several hours. And I want to commend and applaud them for the work that they have done. And that includes the FBI, HSI, ATF, the IRS, the marshals, and several other agencies, analysts that are here. So it's pretty active, because we want to make sure, as the governor stated, as the mayor stated, to make sure that we identify this individual and bring him to justice. Our work that initiated today and continues to initiate for a while, since it started, we're at the 49th hour, and there's no one that wants to put this individual in handcuffs than us. So this has brought us to a new lead, which I momentarily will be able to provide you with. That's going to include video of this individual, as well as photos of this individual. We're asking the public for assistance to be able to identify this individual. The photos I will be able to show you are coming from the area of Hope Street near Benevolent and Manning. And those photos and those videos were retrieved around 2 p.m. on Saturday the 13th. And we believe that that's the same individual that we showed you from the previous video that we released. The public is encouraged to use the tip line, which is pretty active. We have a tip line which is staffed with officers from the Providence Police as well as analysts, and they're taking calls as we speak. And we want the public to use that information that they have that may be beneficial to this investigation. They need to call 401-272-3121 +0. I was going to direct you in order to provide the tips that you are providing to us. As well, you can access the FBI website at fbi.gov/Brown University shooting. Please, I'm going to ask you all to follow our channels to stay appraised of what's going on and to stay accurate. There's a lot of channels and a lot of stuff that's going out there that's circulating the wrong info. And I told you when I first met you that there's appropriate info, there's accurate info, and it's going to come from us. So I please and plead with you that you access those type of channels. Again, we're asking for the public assistance in identifying this individual that we're about to show you, and we'll release this video on Twitter and on our Twitter account momentarily. I'm going to turn to the video behind us. I'll be able to show you in 2 seconds. Officer Meng, and if you could just activate put the videos up. So this is the first video that we're showing you. This is the individual walking. It's on the sidewalk of Benevolent. And this is prior to the incident. Here we go again with the video too, Mike. Again, you see him walking. Go on to the third video. This is some photos of this individual. And they will all be time-stamped. The last photo. Thank you. So we'll be providing this as well, and I ask you all to please make sure you all put them up, and anybody in the public that has any info about this individual, we ask that you call our tip line, and we'll also have the numbers in the website listed. Yeah.
Thank you, Colonel. The last speaker today will be Special Agent in Charge from the FBI, Ted Dox.
Thank you, Mayor. And good evening, everyone. My name is Ted Dox. I'm the Special Agent in Charge of FBI Boston. We know there's a lot of public concern about the horrific mass shooting at Brown University on Saturday, and rightfully so. I can assure you that law enforcement team standing before you today has been working around the clock, 24/7, to ensure justice is fully served. While we mourn the devastating loss of the victims and those who are critically injured, the FBI and its partners are dedicated to honoring their memory through a meticulous investigation. Tonight, as Colonel Perez stated, we are renewing our call for the public's assistance in seeking any and all information about the shooter. No amount of information is too small or irrelevant. We are also here to announce the FBI is now offering a reward of $50,000 for information that could lead to the identification, the arrest, and the conviction of the individual responsible, who we believe to be armed and dangerous. We're asking everyone in Rhode Island and beyond to review the new images of the suspect, share them on social media, and come forward if you have any information. You can contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or the tips provided by the police department at 401-272-3121, or you can also provide tips electronically and submit it to tips.fbi.gov. We're also doubling down on our efforts to obtain images and video of the shooter. Those can be submitted online at fbi.gov/Brown University shooting. Our agents and analysts are fully embedded with our law enforcement partners, including Providence and Rhode Island State Police. We are tracking down leads, canvassing neighborhoods, and developing intelligence. And right now, our evidence response teams remain on campus processing the scene. And folks from our lab from Quantico are documenting the trajectories of the bullets to reconstruct the scene. It's painstaking work, and we are asking the public to be patient as we continue to run down every lead so we can get victims, survivors, and their families, and all of you, the answers you deserve. Thank you.
Mayor, can you tell Chief Oscar to say a statement in Spanish, please, for Spanish media?
Yes.
Gracias, sí, verdaderamente estamos acá esta noche para demostrarles los highlights del progreso que hemos hecho en el departamento, y quiero identificar que es una colaboración del Departamento de la Policía de Providence, el personal de este departamento, también incluye las policías del Estado, obviamente los federales, partners de nosotros, como el FBI, el HSI, el ATF, el IRS y también la oficina de los Marshals también están incluidos. Acabamos de mostrar 3 videos los cuales depictan lo que es esta persona que estamos buscando, y le pedimos al público que realmente si ven estas imágenes y lo conocen a la persona, que llamen a los números que le acabamos de dar, y te los puedo dar cuando terminemos acá, para que ellos nos den esa información. y así nosotros tener la posibilidad de identificar a esta persona y traerlo a la justicia.
Dan, go ahead.
Hi, Mayor Dan Jady from NBC 10. I just want to ask a question. These videos and images were actually very good that you just showed. They were from the day before, and I'm just wondering, why didn't we release these a little bit earlier? Did you just get them today? And can you explain? Because that's going to be a question from viewers.
Of course, and that's a great question, Dan, and I'll tell you that it takes time. I've mentioned it before, that investigations are very complex. And when you're doing canvassing areas, or when you're developing evidence, sometimes you get directed to another direction, and then that's what makes you go back to certain areas and continue to investigate. Here we are at the 49th hour, but I got to commend the dedication and professionalism of all of us that I mentioned earlier, because it's that passion to bring someone to justice that led us to get this info that we got today to be able to provide to you.
Colonel, you still leading the investigation?
1 second.
Sorry.
With these images and videos, are you all going to distribute them to the media? Can you distribute them?
And
then you are.
So, yes.
Mr. Attorney General, yesterday you made it clear you didn't have an image of this person's face. Now these images show you do have this person's face. Is this going to be key in solving this case, which you seem very dedicated in doing?
Yeah, look, I think, as I've said multiple times today, that these investigations are like threads that you pull on a garment. And some of them you pull and the garment doesn't open up, and other ones you pull and the garment comes undone. I think when you go out and get a better image of the person's face, that can only help the public, help us identify this person and confirm that they're the right person when that time comes. The prosecutors today have been working with the law enforcement agents and police officers to advance this investigation, and I would describe today's work as making steady progress to identifying the person that we saw in the video that was released yesterday, and the sooner we can identify that person, the sooner we can, I think, blow this case open. But that's work that has to happen in the next 24 to 36 hours.
Mayor, what led you to believe that there was no further threat to the community today? You mentioned yesterday that there was no additional evidence. Can you just expand upon that?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same as yesterday, which is ever since 4:05 on Saturday, which was when the first call came into ground. There's been no new, credible, specific threat anywhere in the Providence community.
With respect to Mayor, there was no threats made prior to the shooting, so how can people feel safe with that information?
The way in which we are trying to reassure our residents is through a noted, visible police presence throughout the community. It is going to be hard for my city to feel safe going forward. This has shaken us. That will be true tomorrow. I suspect that'll be true the day after the general convicts someone. This is a process to restore a sense of safety. But we're going to take those step at a time. And the first step in what we're trying to provide today, and which we did well with the assistance of our neighbors, and we're grateful for it, is a noted, visible police presence to provide some confidence for families that are taking their kids to school, people who have to get to work a shift. I spent lunchtime today walking down Thayer Street, and for our guests, Thayer Street is the commercial district right adjacent to campus. And I talked to one of the women at Antonio's, which some of you know is a pizza by the slice joint, and she said, I didn't want to come to work today, but I needed to work. I needed to take the shift, and that's a very real thing happening in our community right now. But she noticed and she appreciated the fact that there were patrolmen walking up and down Thayer Street. It made her feel a little bit better. And when she comes to work tomorrow, I hope she feels a little bit better after that. That's where we are right now in terms of restoring a sense of safety to the community. And that's what we're going to continue to try to do.
Bill, go ahead. Mayor, two questions. To that point, a lot of people scared right now, a lot of people confused right now in the city. Can you speak to them directly, summarizing what you just said or any other thoughts from the heart? Your take right now, is Providence safe?
Yeah. Providence remains a very safe city, and Providence receives really the best law enforcement
I believe in the country, and today, especially at this moment, it's being augmented by great professionals of other Rhode Islanders, the state police, and others, and our federal partners. But my sense of the community right now is that this is starting to get very real and very personal. And I heard that today. I heard that last night at the vigil. We're all 2 degrees of separation from one another. And now people are starting to share stories with one another of, oh, my neighbor was nearby, and oh, my friend's kid was supposed to go to that review session but didn't. I'm starting to hear those stories, and I think all the Rhode Islanders in the room are starting to hear those stories. I heard that story again today with one of our customers is one of the teachers, and so it's starting to get very personal for our community, which is hard. And that's, I think, where we are sort of emotionally in the process. But we're here from one another. That's the scary side. The upside is that this is a tight-knit community that looks out for one another. The governor was there. All the officials who were up here with me tonight were with us at Lippert Park last night. It was 10 degrees. It was loosely organized. And yet hundreds of people came out because they wanted to be with one another. They were hugging their neighbors. They were crying, and they were offering each other support. So this community will heal from this. We will move forward. But that doesn't make light of, and I'm certainly not making light of, the fear and anxiety that persists. But the only way we're going to move forward through it is one step at a time, and today's one of those steps.
Colonel,
yeah.
Do you have any idea what kind of firearm was used in this shooting? And do you know how many rounds were fired? Do you have any details of that nature?
It was several rounds. It was a small caliber, actually 9mm firearm was used. And it was several rounds into it. And obviously, as we all know, the casualties and the injured people, it's just terrible. So, yes.
Colonel, I have 2 questions. Yes. Who's the lead investigator on this now? And secondly, what do you believe that a person of interest was doing in that video and those pictures that you obtained?
Yeah, so the first question, the lead is, obviously we're taking the lead, but we couldn't do this job without the assistance, as I mentioned, collaboration of all the different agencies and municipalities. This is a team effort. This is important to us. As the mayor stated, it has shocked the city, and a lot of people are concerned. So this is an effort to put handcuffs on somebody, and it takes a whole team to do that.
My second question is, what do you think he was doing? Was he staking out the area? Because this was the day before the shootings, correct?
Correct. And so,
day before or hours? Was it hours before, days before?
So it was a few hours before, and I'll tell you that at this point, that's all we have. So it was a few hours before. What he was doing, we'll be able to find out further once we come to investigate.
Colonel, with respect to
John DePietro, Road Patrol Life. Can you talk about, is it unusual to change the direction of an investigation as it's going on?
That's a great question, John. I think that all detectives throughout this nation and in the world understand that when you're investigating a case, it takes different paths. You start somewhere, you start here, and all of a sudden something else pops up, and you are going in a different direction. And that's what happens. It's complex. And at the end of the day, you have to investigate. You have to pull every rock. You have to look at every video. You have to examine evidence. You have to check ballistics. It just takes a lot of work. You have to interview witnesses, and sometimes that takes you to a whole different path. And as a police officer and a detective, you have to make sure that you don't get into the tunnel vision in order to be able to have right answer. So yeah, they do change.
Are you concerned that the more time passes, it'll be harder to make an arrest?
I'll tell you, every
It's
minute.
been a couple days.
Every minute counts. Every minute counts. But what doesn't stop is the dedication and professionalism of this department as well as our partners.
Providence is not allowed. Do you have any reason to believe that any of the victims, whether the victims who died or the others, were targeted by this shooter, or that he was just shooting randomly indiscriminately?
That's all part of the investigation, Steph. Yeah, so we'll continue to investigate
And then
further.
you also explained the FBI today was searching in the bushes and kicking around the snow, or moving the snow on Waterman Street. We have known since Saturday that the potential suspect walked down Waterman Street. It was in the first video. Why would you be now looking in the bushes for something on Waterman Street 2 days later after it snowed?
So I just answered John the same question on how investigations, they turn and lead you in a different direction. We might have used all our energies in the first few days to investigate something, and here we are now heading back to that same place to continue to investigate, and that's why you saw that, because the investigations change on a daily basis.
So on the travel of the 911 call or emergency calls that came in, when the first 911 calls to come in, were those dispatched by Brown University Police or Providence Police?
It was dispatched by the 911 center, and yes, we responded immediately within minutes. You saw the Providence Police cruiser pulling up.
So Providence has been an investigator on this from the beginning?
That's correct.
Have you received any leads or indication on whether this was personally motivated, political, or otherwise? Are there any threats to Brown that they've turned over that would give us an indication of why this might have happened?
It's a great question, and that's something that we're all asking ourselves, and we'll continue to investigate to be able to get that answer.
Do you have reason to believe that this person is no longer in the community? Because can you continue to try to reassure the public that they are safe, but you also just said that this person you believe is armed and dangerous, so how can both be true?
Well, yeah, right, and that's something that's unknown, but like the mayor stated, I'll tell you that we have enhanced enforcement in that area. We have, Steph stated earlier, we have a lot of officers in the area, so in that sense, it's going to be safe. But however, as well, I just want to remind the community that our priority in law enforcement and in the city is to keep our constituents safe, keep them informed, and to keep them committed, to understand that we're a professional, we're dedicated, we're going to put somebody in handcuffs, and we're going to continue to do this job. So
do you have reason to believe that they are no longer in this community?
That's something that we're continuing to investigate.
Tom Quinlan, WPRO. On the trajectory of where this guy went from the videos that you saw, where is the last place that you would you have clear video of seeing him? Is it like, are you still getting video from houses in that area? And you know, Colonel Weaver, just real quick, in terms of the state's response, how much enforced patrol? We know about the enforced patrol in Providence, but are you putting throughout the state to keep the highways, you know, keep an eye on the highways?
We have increased our patrols throughout the state, and we will respond accordingly to any requests for additional assistance. This is a collaborative effort, not only from our uniform division, but also our detective bureau is embedded here with Providence and our federal partners, and we will not stop until we find out who the suspect is and bring them to justice.
Question for Attorney General. The video was taken hours before. Can you talk about how...
I just want to clarify something, because it seems that we're a little confused as far as the video itself. It says 2 p.m. It was their day off 2 hours prior.
So where?
2 p.m.
So where's based on the pictures? That video
Let me just finish with that. Go ahead.
Thanks, Tim. Where's the last video that you actually have video from in that area?
It's in the vicinity of Hope Street, between Benevolent and Main Street.
And that's before the shooting?
That's correct, yes.
2 hours, right?
Yeah, 2 hours prior.
My turn, Bill. Dan, Tom, this video that you just released, more than anything, is key to wrapping to this case, okay? We have a closer picture of his face, we have a closer picture of his body. Based on that and witness interviews, do you have a new description of the person of interest now? Because you look like a guy just walking around, you know, the neighborhood. Is there a new description you can give us?
There is, and it will be on that poster that we're going to be releasing on the images, and the height, weight, and things of that nature are all posted on that.
You think he lives in the area?
It's something that we're investigating there.
Desde ayer se han filtrado a la prensa el nombre, la fotografía y hasta la casa de la persona de interés que estaba bajo custodia. Si quiere responde esta pregunta en los dos idiomas. Hoy habían algunos medios haciéndose eco de que había una segunda persona de interés en custodia. Este no es el caso porque no he escuchado absolutamente nada en esta conferencia que se refiera a eso. ¿Me puede usted decir cuánto o cómo están manejando ustedes la información dentro del departamento y cómo se está filtrando a la prensa?
Claro.
Porque esto crea confusión, obviamente.
Sí. So the gentleman just asked a question about how information is getting filtered into the community and out from us. And the question was that past few days an individual was identified and was detained. And he was a person of interest. We had him here. He's asking, how does that get out to the media? How does that happen? My answer to that is I have no control over what's being released or circulated in the media. Speculations that occur. What we can control is what we give you here. And as I was speaking earlier, that's why it's important for you to get the information from us. So, mi respuesta que le hago es lo que pasa es que no me doy cuenta cómo se filtra esa información al medio de comunicación. Es importante que la comunicación venga de nosotros y no de otras partes. Es muy importantísimo porque ustedes al circular en otros momentos van a especular. Ahora, he also asked, the second question that he asked was that there was information out there that we had a person in custody of interest, a second person. And that's not true, that's incorrect, and I don't know how that's circulated in speculation. So my answer to him is that, no, eso es mentira, hasta el momento no tenemos otra persona en custodia, lo único que tenemos es lo que acabamos de informar.
And building on that, Attorney General,
Go ahead, Chris.
There appeared to be an issue with 311 services during Saturday's incident. A lot of neighbors couldn't get notification. What issues were going on there, and has that since been resolved?
Yeah, so residents in the city of Providence were notified in multiple ways, and certainly through all of your outlets, all official City of Providence social media outlets, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we pushed out a 311 notice. If you are not, the 311 notification system in the City of Providence, you have to sign up for it in order to receive it. And so 311 notifications did go out. If you are a resident of the City of Providence and you are not receiving 311 notifications, we urge you to please sign up. You can do so at the city's website. 311 notices have continued to go out throughout this entire incident, including up as recently as today, this afternoon, to clarify a false report with regard to a report of shots fired, which was found to be unfounded. We sent out a push notification through 311 to reassure people because in this day and age, there's a lot of misinformation. A lot of people are getting reports through non-official channels and are getting anxious as a result of it. And so 311 notifications are working fine, but you have to register for it. And you have to opt in for text messages. If anyone needs assistance for how to sign up for 311, if you are not tech savvy or if you are having problems, you can call the phone number 311, and we have staff available who will help register you. For all of our community, please know that there are always bilingual individuals to take those phone calls.
Mr. Attorney General, you were on CNN this morning talking about, Mr. Attorney General, you were on CNN this morning talking about the person that you spoke, the person of interest from yesterday was here. We have not heard that here today. Can you talk about, is that person of interest still here in the state? Who was he? Was he from Wisconsin? Just,
Yeah, I think, as I said last night, for those of you who were here, I thought it was really unfortunate that this person's name was leaked by somebody.
Is he clear?
Well, let me finish my answer. Was leaked by, excuse me?
Why you finish the answer? You answer this question.
No, I haven't finished it yet.
No, you always come with the same answer.
So I'm going to finish it. So, the person who was held, it was unfortunate that his name got leaked because it's one of the reasons why we use words carefully, and detaining someone because they're a person of interest is different from having a person in custody that you're gathering evidence to charge. I mean, that's a place in an investigation that eventually you get to, but we weren't there with this individual. So it's hard to put that name, back in the bottle. He has been cleared. He is not a person of interest any longer. The investigation is now focused in another direction. But I want to clarify something the chief said. That doesn't mean that while part of the team was focused on him, other leads weren't being followed up on. What's critical here is that we reconstruct, and the police notice, our prosecutors are working with them, it's critical that we reconstruct this man's movements, both before and afterwards. And my hope is that we will eventually have that pattern. But when you ask staff why are they looking in particular areas, where he was and what his movements are developing as we obtain additional evidence. So that can't explain why people are looking somewhere today as opposed to 2 days ago. We're learning more about his movements as we gather additional video evidence. And that video evidence has been coming in at a much greater degree than it was 12, 24, 36 hours ago. Why, you ask? Some people were away for the weekend. Some of these places were businesses. So what the team is doing, there are a bunch of teams doing different things. Exploiting electronic evidence, exploiting physical evidence, meaning forensic evidence from the crime scene, canvassing the neighborhoods. And those are the threads that when you pull them, will open this case up. And that has been true over the course of my career, and I'm confident it'll be true again here.
General.
Yeah, go ahead, Nolan. I'll get out of the way.
I appreciate it. And this kind of follows up on what Colonel Perez said about, to the general public to use official Providence police channels, be it YouTube or whatever. Are we doing a good job here? Is the media doing a good job in the ultimate goal right now of trying to locate this person?
Yeah, look, I think part of what's important about these briefings, I give the mayor great credit for doing them, is to help push out information in a case like this to the press and the public to help us solve this crime. That's potentially what it'll take you.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I want to go back to Brown University.
Yeah.
Okay? There's been a lot of questions, I've heard from a lot of parents today, and it goes back to the question about the alarm and that was installed in 2007. That in an active shooter location, it sends off a notice and tells people what to do. That never went off. I'm wondering, what is Brown's answer? And perhaps even just as important, why isn't Brown here today?
As for the decision to activate the Brown alarm, that's a question for Brown. I believe it was asked of the chief of the Brown Police Department the other day. You'd have to follow up with him. Okay. This is not a decision that the City of Providence or any of the other law enforcement partners that you see behind me can trigger that alarm. I don't know the answer to that. We continue to work very closely with Brown, and it is no lack of support, or there's nothing to read into the fact that they're not here today.
Do you have any concerns
we
about
have
Brown?
meaningful. We felt like there was meaningful updates to make with respect to the investigation. The video and photos that we shared today, Brown is not a part of those updates, and so we have all of the relevant agencies who are working on this and where we are in this investigation today, and that's why who you see here is here.
Do you have any concerns about why Brown didn't have those sirens go off? Have you had those conversations with them?
Again, Brown has to answer that question, but it is clear that, and the Colonel mentioned this, and we've talked about it a couple times over the last 2 days, the police response to the initial call was swift, timely. We don't believe there was any, it could not have happened any faster than it did. And so I can't speak to, honestly don't know a lot about their alarm system, and you'd have to ask them about it, but in terms of our response, it was nearly immediately. There's a lot of presence in that area, and Brown PD responded very quickly.
In all due respect, Mayor, we can't ask Brown if they don't show up.
Well, you have their contact information, and I would encourage you to reach out. Please, straight back.
Maya Brookland with MS Now. Do you have any update on the victims who are still hospitalized? Have you spoken with any of them or their families?
I don't. There's no degrading of their condition, but I don't have the latest status of them. I've not spoken to them since yesterday, although I know other people have, and we're happy to try to get you an update for our next.
John says that Brown is to blame here, saying that the onus of this tragedy is on the school itself. Do you think that's a fair criticism? Do you disagree with what the president is saying in response to the shooting, sir?
Who's the question for? I'm sorry.
For Governor McKee.
Repeat the question, please.
President Donald Trump has said that Brown University is to blame for this shooting and saying it's the school's problem. Is that a fair criticism, or do you disagree with what the president
I don't
said?
think it's fair criticism.
Colonel. Can you expand on that?
Why not? Because Brown University is not collaborating with you guys. You're lying to the press over here. They have facial recognition. We know that because they follow the student, they follow everybody in the neighborhood. Facial recognition. They need to release that data so everybody know who the guy is in video. We got the video Saturday. Why you guys release the video today?
I think that answers the question.
Listen,
Colonel, I would just...
John, please, just for a second. A couple things. First of all, Brown University and Brown Public Safety, Brown Police Department has been a close collaborator throughout this process.
That's not true.
I do not accept that criticism.
Oh, come on. We know that.
Secondly, everyone you see behind us, we've all been working for now 49 hours. We're tired. We're serious about the task at hand. I know all of you have been working very hard, and I suspect all of you are just as tired. The press has been a great partner in pushing out relevant, factual, timely information, and we are grateful for that. This crowd has grown a little bit over the last 48 hours, and I know that people are weary, and so I'm asking, please, for a little bit of patience and grace, and we have been fully transparent. We continue to answer your questions. We will continue to do so. But the best way to inform the public and to ask for their help is for these opportunities to not degrade into baseless accusations, and we will point them out when we hear them. John, go ahead, please.
Question for the Colonel. Colonel, we learned, you revealed that the shooter used the 9mm. Now, there's a report the shooter yelled something right before his shot came in. Can you tell us what that was?
Yeah, it's a part of the investigation, John. Yeah.
Now, the only reason I asked that, though, is, for instance, like with the Unabomber, his brother recognized the writing. So it's possible a friend or family member might recognize if the person said something that was significant.
Correct.
So that's why you don't, other than the 9mm, is there anything else inside that auditorium that you could tell us?
No, that's correct. Listen, like I said earlier, investigations will bring us to evidence that we need to collect in order to be able to prosecute.
But he did yell something.
With that being said, we're going to continue to collect evidence, and if it leads us to something to that nature that's going to be extremely helpful for us to identify somebody, we'll be the first ones to put it out.
Alex. With how much time has elapsed at this point, do you have any evidence that indicates that this person is getting help, or are they a lone wolf in this situation?
Yeah, so we'll continue. Those are great questions, Alex, and I think that's something for us to continue to investigate. This is active and it's complex, and so that we may have an answer to that they by themselves, but that's not something that we have ruled out, and we won't do that. So.
Here, please.
Colonel, are you looking for both a living or a potentially deceased person of interest?
We don't rule anything out. Like I told you earlier, this is a complex situation. It's fluid. But we'll continue to do our job in order to be able to get those answers.
You were describing the suspect, or the person you're looking for, as someone in his 30s, another you said 20s. From what you've seen, the picture that you've seen, can you now, through FBI profiling that's been done, give us a better age and whether or not he has any connection at this point, 49 hours later, to that classroom, that lecture hall, and to the Brown University campus? Can you say that lecture hall was targeted? Because we saw the video of him going around the neighborhood that you just showed us, but he didn't go anywhere else into that campus. So can you say that that classroom was targeted?
I'll tell you that what I can tell you is that this individual definitely targeted the Brown University, because clearly that we're here speaking about that. And I can also tell you that obviously it's something that we're looking into as far as if there's anything else that he was targeting, but it's all open. Was there another question to that, Paul?
I asked you about the approximate age, because this is the first time we're seeing his face. And just like with the marathon bombers, when the authorities finally put those pictures out, within hours, those people came up. So now that for the first time the nation is seeing this image, frontal image of this suspect, what are you able to, and the sack from Boston especially, what are you able to now determine?
And we have that, and they have been extremely helpful, and we're going to be able to provide that to you so that you can put it on your own websites.
But you have that right now.
Dan's got the last question, and then we're going to wrap it up.
All right, I want to ask two questions, if I could, Mayor. To follow up on John's question, did the suspect yell, like has been reported, and there's been some erroneous reporting, but did he yell when he came in the classroom? And how valuable have witness statements been from those who survived?
Listen, my heart goes out to the victims, it goes out to the families, and I'll tell you that their cooperation has been extremely helpful. And with that being said, we'll continue, and I'm going to respect the fact that, and I hope that they get better, and my heart and soul goes out to them. So.
Did he yell though? Did he say something?
That's something that we're investigating. We took statements. And
is there any audio from the scene? From any cell phones? There are a lot of cell phones there. Is there any audio?
We're gonna wrap it up here. For your planning purposes, we will continue to brief in this location until we say otherwise. We also, unless there's a significant update, we don't expect to brief further today, and expect to...
Alrighty, you have been listening in there to a press conference in Providence, Rhode Island, where we are just getting video now showing this suspect, some images as well. You were taking a look at it actually right after we got it in there on the left side of your screen, showing the suspect there. on the streets. We're also getting some new images, some, I would say, screen captures, screenshots in here of this as well from FBI Boston. They're releasing this as you take a look there, as they are offering a $50,000 reward. That also came from this press conference there. As you continue to take a look there, I want to see if I can adjust this just a little bit, maybe a zoomed in view on this suspect's face as the search is continuing. There's kind of a zoomed in view here. We haven't quite gotten a complete capture of a screen, but it appears he's wearing a green and gray jacket, possibly a black, bluish undershirt, some jeans, black pants, maybe can't quite tell completely from this photo, a mask and a beanie there as the search again for this suspect is continuing. We do expect to get kind of full quality videos in, and when we do, of course, we will bring that to you. What I want to do here, I want to pull it up full screen, those new videos that we are just getting onto your screen, kind of run through that, analyze that. You see the suspect who walking there, staring at a house, not looking, I mean, he looks suspicious there on this video, but I mean, these are the videos that we're getting in. That video specifically flagging me as he just looks a little suspicious, just walking and then randomly stopping. It appears maybe police kind of surfaced neighbors and tracked his distance and kept going to see if there were any cameras and what they had. There's a suspect continuing to on his journey here around Providence near Brown University. What is also interesting about this, as they did have as someone who they believed was the suspect in custody, they released them saying just didn't have concrete, solid evidence to prove that the person they had in custody was this suspect. As they are continuing to ask for the public's health here, a $50,000 reward um offered here by the FBI on all of this. Again, all of this new video just coming into us, and we are watching it all and will continue to do so. We're going to take a quick break as we approach the last few moments of our show. We're going to recap all the news that we're following because we know it has been a lot. More to come right here on Brookland News Live. Welcome back into Brookland News Live. I'm Jackson Mitchell here. We are continuing to follow a number of stories. A press conference just wrapping up moments ago in Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island, as the search continues for this Brown University shooting suspect. To bring you guys kind of up to speed on what we know, 2 are dead, 9 are injured. No update on the injured's condition at this hour. That press conference, though, revealing that the FBI is now offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to this suspect's arrest. We learned we got some new video in as well. Take a look at it there on your screen. That video showing this suspect walking across in front of many homes. This is in Providence, Rhode Island, of course. Again, the manhunt continuing. It's on full force here. The Attorney General, the the police chief there, all saying that they are doing their best to figure out and find out and arrest this suspect. So there's that video we are just getting in a few moments ago. We are going to continue to monitor this story as we get more information. We are following some more headlines though on this Monday. We are following Rob Reiner's death. His son, Nick Reiner, has been arrested and is being held on a $4 million bond at a Los Angeles County jail for Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle's death. It's many reports suggesting they were stabbed to death. People, the magazine in Los Angeles, saying they were found at their home by their daughter dead at that time. We're following that. We're also following this pretty big situation going on in Australia where we know 16 have died and 40 plus are injured, including a 10-year-old in anti-Semitic, in what is being deemed an anti-Semitic and terrorist attack that's in Sydney, Australia at the Bondi Beach there. So we are all over that story. President Donald Trump participating in a Mexican border defense medal presentation earlier today. We've been watching that. We're also getting into news. I was just reading about it a few moments ago. We're learning that there is an investigation going on into an accidental shooting involving 2 off-duty police officers. About 2 hours ago, we got our first statement in from the Jonesboro Police Department. I want to read it in its entirety here. If you will ignore me here, I'm going to be looking at my phone, reading this statement. It says, shortly before 1 p.m., first responders were called to the area of Redville Boulevard and Stallings Lane for a reported accidental shooting. The incident involved 2 off-duty JPD officers who were traveling together. The victim was transported to an area hospital for further treatment. The Arkansas State Police have been called in to continue their investigation into the events of this shooting. They provided an image showing multiple first responders and police here. Traffic appears to be backed up in this image in this accidental shooting that occurred while 2 off-duty officers were traveling together, according to the Jonesboro Police Department there. We are going to continue to follow all of these stories. Again, a lot of news coming in. I'll go ahead and let you know you can join us starting Wednesday. You can join us Wednesday and Thursday from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We'll have the latest updates on all the top headlines. Won't be here tomorrow. Again, we'll be here Wednesday and Thursday, so we'll get you updated then. Won't be here Friday either. A lot more news to continue following. Remember, you can follow us on our social media pages there on the bottom of your screen, scrolling there. And for all the news you need and more, visit brooklandnews.com. In the meantime, that does it for us. Have a great rest of your night, guys.